Here's Luke Altmaier. First down, and he's taken down. And it's Terrell Bernard. And he has 15 and a half career sacks now.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Now with 5. Mitchell wants another 3, and he finds it.
Ooh. And you want him to play football, Grant.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Empty backfield for Griffin. He has time, launches it to the end zone. Touchdown! Terrence Williams!
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
This should do it. Go tie. And that's 300 wins for Tom Glavine, the 23rd player in the history to do it. Only time will tell if he's the last to do it. But the night is his.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
It was 2 years ago right now that we launched Sikkim 365 Radio. It was the dream of Ashley Hodge and Brian Etheridge and Cole Barber, and it has been a dream for all of us ever since we started 2 years ago today. Happy New Year. No, actually, happy anniversary, everyone. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak from day one. We're going to show you in just a second a couple of 2 or 3 pictures from day one. We have loaded up our guest list today with Robert Griffin III, Hall of Famer, Heisman Trophy winner, Hall of Famer Tom Glavine, Baylor's Dave Aranda. We expect and we're hoping Hall of Fame 3-time major champion Lee Trevino, Rob Bolton on the Masters, and also our picks today, Grant Taft, the great Grant Taft, John Machota, he's also a Grant Taft, a Hall of Famer. John Machota on the Cowboys in Paul's top 5, and it has been 2 years, and it has been a fun run for the 2 years we've been on the air.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been it's kind of, we were thinking back to the first early days and a lady knocking out the internet in my neighborhood an hour before the show was over one day. So it was kind of over, and kind of the things that we've had to navigate, and then being in this building and everything that's gone on. It's been great. It's been awesome. And some of these guests we had on in that first summer in 2020. And the best part about that was they couldn't tell us no. Like, what are you doing? We're all just kind of sitting at home. So we had some great guests, and they're, a lot of them are coming back today.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a nice little milestone. But yeah, it's been a fun journey, and remember fondly Paul's attic or base. I guess attic more so than a basement. But yeah, just sitting up on his third floor and just doing a show because there weren't a lot of options, quite frankly, out there. And thankful to Sikkim 365 for giving us an opportunity, and it's been a fun run and a lot of memorable things along the way in these 2 years, and it's been a long 2 years in some ways and a quick 2 years in some ways. Definitely been an interesting 2 years, that's for sure. Just not only with this job, but in the world. It's been probably one of the most interesting 2-year runs, certainly in my lifetime, and I think in probably most people's that are walking around right now's lifetimes. But yeah, it was a negative turned into a positive, and here we are, and it's been fun.
We have seen crazy things in the world, from COVID to Ukraine and many things in between, and of course a presidential election. We've seen a lot. And so we are here today to celebrate, but also to look forward to what we have coming up. Here are 2 or 3 photos that we took from when we first started this show on April the 6th of 2020. We started the show in Paul's upper deck, and I'm going to call it that, the suites of Paul Catalina's house in Waco. The way he set that up, that's his desk. And of course, we had a couple of card tables. There's Craig back in the kind of back middle left. And there's me with that purple shirt or whatever it is. And all of what we found away. Paul had some equipment. We went and bought some equipment thanks to the partners I mentioned, Ashley, Colt, and Brian. And that's one of the shows. We did that for about 4 or 5 months from Paul's upper deck. And you're right, there were some times because of what we had available to us technology-wise that it was a challenge, but you did an incredible job. And Woodrow is in the Hall of Fame of Sikkim 365 Radio, Paul's beautiful dog, because he was so quiet and patient even when he had to poop or pee. Now, that's one picture. Here's another one. This is where we are now inside. That's the building. And by the way, there's construction even now. There's never ending. But those black windows, Brian, Colt, and Ashley found this building. There were 3 or 4 different options they looked at. I don't know if we could have ever found a better, location than we have right now. That's where it was. That was when the building, that's what it was before. That's it, an empty shell. That's Brian and that's Paul, an empty shell of what we have that we now have inside of this building. And of course, then slowly and methodically, the set arrived. And then all the background started to be put together. And now, of course, you have what we have today here on Sikkim 365 Radio. Shorty's Pizza Shack, one of our sponsors, with this pizza and also the number inside of this box. And we are a couple of different pizzas, 2 of them for year 2. There's the number 2 for the 2nd anniversary with those big, huge, good-looking pieces of pepperoni. And then I ordered this cake from the Great American Cookie Company inside the Richland Mall. Happy 2nd anniversary. And also that's to you, the audience, and the viewers as well. So, here we go. Start year 3. We had a lot to get to, including when we have our G3 on the top of the show. So day 2 of Bob Bowlsby leaving, and there's all sorts of articles about possibilities. One of them, and Craig, you sent me an email. I sent an email to you guys about a story about some of the options that might be there. And one of them actually that was brought up, we've talked about Mac Rhodes. He's in a 10-year deal. He discussed that yesterday. And he's going to stay as the AD at Baylor, was Dr. Livingstone's name, who's been rising up the charts, the president at Baylor. I don't think that is going to happen, but that says quite a bit that her name was on a lot of these lists as well.
Yeah, I mean, the article listed like 30 people, so, it was kind of wide-ranging, named like, I don't have exact figures, I didn't count it, but it felt like there's quite a few names that were mentioned, both current ADs in the Big 12. I think they named, Mac Rhodes, but then followed up by saying that, he had just signed a 10-year deal. They mentioned Kirby Hocutt from Texas Tech, who, was obviously on the playoff committee. Mentioned, a couple of other ADs around the league. And then mentioned some outside candidates and some people that, quite frankly, most of us have probably never really heard of. And that might be who ends up being the person when all is said and done. But, yeah, Linda Livingstone was mentioned amongst the presidential candidates that could be possible. And I'd never really given it much consideration. I mean, Mac Rhodes I certainly had, but when I saw her name, I was like, oh, wow, that actually makes a ton of sense. I could totally see her serving as a commissioner with her basketball background and her love for athletics and just her resume. So, yeah, that was kind of cool to see her brought up, and it says a lot about, Baylor, that your AD and your president are being talked about as, potential candidates for a pretty big role as Big 12 commissioner. But, a lot of other schools and a lot of other people mentioned as well. But I think that just speaks well to what they've got going on right now.
Yeah, I wonder, when you read all these names, you wonder what is a better job, AD, president, or commissioner? And it's not just about the money. You know, that like I would assume the money is pretty good to be a conference commissioner.
I bet it's $3 to $4 or $5 million and maybe more.
But money isn't everything. Like so say you're making 2.5 as an AD, maybe 3 or 4 as an AD. Maybe I'm sure that Greg Sankey probably makes 7. I mean, he's got to be worth that for being the most powerful power broker in a sport full of power brokers. But is it worth the headache at certain levels, so that could take a lot of people out of this.
A commissioner has 10, 12, 14, 16, how many teams you might have. An AD has hundreds of athletes they deal with. And then, of course, as you mentioned, it just all depends. And Mack Broads, I thought he was very transparent yesterday in what he said about thinking at some point that he might want to be a conference commissioner, but he also then eventually said why he did not. And one of them was he couldn't be a fan of anybody, really all 12 teams, but he couldn't show some of the emotions that he does right now as the AD at Baylor. We have some legacy sponsors. You're going to hear them throughout the show. We started this show with 13 original sponsors. Every single one of them is still with us. The Willis Law Firm in Houston, David and Parker, they have been on and off based on special events, but they were with us and they remain with us. Behind us, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, thanks to Carl Ellis and Mike Garrick. Also, Ideal MRI with Dr. Rob Maxey, Dr. Kent Petty and his staff at Petty Clinic, Low T, and we've had many others. I just sent a text to, I think, every single one of them that have been a part of the show in certain ways, even on and off. But all 13 legacy sponsors remain with us, and that's 2 years later. We appreciate every one of them, and also the chat room as well. Now, Bob Bowlsby steps away. There are some thoughts, and we will, I think, have him. I don't know if it'll be this week, either tomorrow or Friday or perhaps earlier next week. But do you feel like this was his decision?
Yes.
I do too. I think there's been some speculation. Maybe it wasn't. But I think that he wanted to make sure he fixed the problem, of which part of it was maybe him, and then let things settle down, get the expansion, and then let somebody else take him to the next level. Craig?
Yeah, I think it was very much his decision. I don't know what forces are out there right now that indicate they'd be pushing him out for any reason. I don't see a single bit of substance as to why he would have been pushed out. Maybe there's some part of Twitter that I haven't seen where they have a really logical argument for that. But no, that's not even. No, he did it on his own. I don't even question that whatsoever. The timing of it and what they're facing in the next couple of years. I guess if you wanted to paint it like, well, they want him out of there because they want somebody with the TV background or something. I guess, but I don't really care that much whether it was his decision or not. I really don't. It does not matter to me one iota.
Yep.
He's out. He's gone. I hope it was his decision for his sake, just as a human being, that he was able to make that decision on his own. But I don't care how it happened. All I know is that they need a new commissioner, and they need to hit a home run with this. I take that back. They need to hit a grand slam with this because they have to have somebody to, really get into a room with a lot of powerful, strong leaders and be one of those and hold their own and, carry their own weight and bark when they need to bark back at a Greg Sankey, if it's not in the Big 12's best interest. And I think Bob Bowlsby did. I think he did fight for the Big 12 more often than not. I think he's also a lot tougher than people give him credit for. I could definitely see him walking into a room and, not striking or smack, but like yelling back at somebody. And they got to have somebody that can do that because, you get pushed around really easily. Next thing you know, you're just at the bidding of, the other ones who yell the loudest. So it's an important decision. It's a key decision. And I'm really intrigued by the direction that they go with it.
I think one of the questions about Bowlsby, and it was without question Dan Beebe, but one of the questions is he could do that with other commissioners from other conferences. Did he do it enough within the members of the Big 12 as it was for the last several years, and now, of course, going forward with the new 4 with Brigham Young, UCF, Houston, and also Cincinnati. There's a lot to be done. The negotiation of whenever Texas and Oklahoma leave, the negotiation of the new TV contract, just college athletes and athletics in general, and the possibility of the future of what any conference, not just the Big 12, but any conference looks like going forward as the Power 5 and how they expand or they actually what's the word, even maybe get smaller and even more elite along the way.
Well, I think about it when if it's his decision. Look, the guy's almost 70 or 70 years old, and you think about in the next 3 years, you're going to have maybe 3 of the toughest jobs you've ever had as the commissioner going forward. Is your whole heart in that? Knowing that, like, sometimes you said, okay, once I get this done, I'm going to retire. Well, once you kind of have that, I'm going to retire in my mind, isn't it maybe even better to just be like, no, let's get somebody else in here because I'm at that point.
Dr. Gatt, Bob is 70. It's time from John Kelly.
Yeah.
Good timing for Mr. Bowlsby. Congrats to KU, by the way, on the championship. From Lee Buttercup, could there be a better time for Bowlsby to leave than now? Baylor and Oklahoma State finally take the spotlight in football away from Texas, Oklahoma. Kansas brings home another gold natty and won by the Hateful Eight. Great additions coming forward. And from Jeff Bowlsby, did the best job he could with the hand he was dealt. Also from John Kelly, hard to say the Big 12 isn't the best basketball conference in men's basketball for the foreseeable future. And John Kelly, we discussed that, of course, yesterday as well.
Yeah, and as somebody brought up, the Big 12 should figure out a way to, monetize and market and really throw that out there, a la the SEC and their football, kind of propaganda in the early 2000s. Now they followed it up by winning titles, and that's why it went from, just kind of a network really pushing a brand to becoming what it is now where nobody even questions it. And, the Big 12, I don't know that they can really do that same way with basketball, but I think there is, some marketing and, a little bit of a pizzazz there for the conference to really hang their hats on, and they should. So hopefully they take that, and while the timing is right, they maximize that to the full extent.
On our first show, April the 6th of 2020, we had some amazing guests, and one of them is a guest again today, and so are others that we're going to have today. But we start off with Robert Griffin III from ESPN, Heisman Trophy winner, College Football Hall of Fame, Texas Sports Hall of Fame, Texas High School Football Hall of Fame, and a great friend of the show. Hey, you know what? You've had to kind of relaunch your career with the broadcasting. We had to relaunch ours 2 years ago. Thanks, man, for being a part of this second-year anniversary show.
Hey, man, no problem at all. You guys are the best. I got a lot of respect for you, so I'm happy to be on the show and celebrate with you guys.
Robert, what was that first year of broadcasting like for you, and how do you and what do you do in the offseason compared to what you did as an athlete to get ready for year two?
Well, I got to say it was a blessing, very unexpected, a lot of fun. I got to call a couple of Baylor games as well, be there for homecoming. So that was nostalgic for me. But for me, my schedule hasn't changed. I still work out as if I'm playing, continuing to prepare for that call to come. But when it comes to broadcasting, just being around the game, being able to see what's going on in spring practice and understand all the moves that are being made, really get you prepared to tell the stories for the teams and universities when the fall comes.
Robert, what was the I don't know the challenge, but clearly because ESPN really lets you show your personality and you're such a humor. Maybe it's something that people probably didn't get to see with you when you're a player that much because you don't get that much time to do that. But finding the rhythm between you and Mark Jones and showing your personality and not just being a kind of a straight X and O broadcast.
Yeah, I would say that, your point about people not really getting to see your personality when you're a player is true. One, we have helmets on all the time. And two, when our press conferences, we're not really trying to be funny. We're trying to lead a team, lead an organization. So being a broadcaster, the best thing or best advice I ever got was be yourself. And that's what I tried to do in the booth with Mark Jones. He was phenomenal. He's got years and years of experience, and he made it so much easier for me. Him, our producer, Ken Belton, our sideline guy, Clint Kesenick, everybody together. It flowed really, really well. And they just told me, don't be afraid, be yourself, go out there. And I kind of took that to heart. So I wasn't afraid to say things that some people might think are funny. Some people didn't think they were funny. It didn't matter. Just having fun, and that energy came through on the broadcast. And I'm extremely proud about that.
There's a lot of times where the media might not be so popular and it might be their own doing. And there's a lot of times, athletes can get kind of tired of the media and the way things are painted. Has being in the media given you a different perspective than when you were an athlete?
Yeah, what I would say is, coming into the media game, everybody, or should I say players, are concerned about what you just said. And for me, it was, can you do this? Be yourself, say the truth and not have to necessarily say anything that you don't believe in. And that's rung true for me this entire time. I've been able to go out and whether it's in the studio or in the broadcast booth, be myself, say the things that I believe in, stand my ground on the convictions that I have, but not go out there and unnecessarily, burn any bridges or try to tear anybody down. I think, it's our job in the media to tell players' stories correctly, because what we say about them on the air travels with them for the longevity of their careers. And I was a guy that had some stuff that was spoken about me that was untrue. And I don't want to do that to other players. I don't want to do that to coaches or GMs. So I make sure I go out there and I say what I believe, and I leave it at that and have fun with it. So that was something that I haven't really had an issue with. And I think, the circles that I'm in when I go work out and these guys, they're constantly coming up to me and telling me, that they think I'm killing it. And that, that's the biggest stroke of confidence I can get is from my peers to feel that way about me.
I asked you this before, but I was going to ask you now that the season's over and you've been through it. What is not no more complicated? What is more difficult? Planning for X's and O's of an opponent, watching that film, or planning for a broadcast of two teams you're going to do?
I would say it's probably tougher broadcasting for two different teams, two different sets of traditions. In college football, it's the roster turnover is so high, and you got the transfer portal now. So keeping up to date with who's on the team, where they're from, what their story is, how to tell that story, how long has this coach been there, who moved here, is a lot more difficult than planning for the X's and O's of a cover 2 defense versus the quarters defense versus cover 6 versus which linebacker, this pass rusher. That part of it makes it easier for me to navigate broadcasting. Playing the game is harder than broadcasting the game, but studying for the broadcasting is, I would say, significantly more difficult than studying to play a game that you love and have played for the last 20 years.
What was it like to jump in and not only a year that college football was back with fans in the stands after the full blown part of COVID-19, and then all the issues that popped up, Big 12 realignment, name, image, likeness, the transfer portal. Really, last year was the year where we really got to see what that means, where you get to transfer and play right away.
Yeah, I mean, there was no shortage of storylines, right? So it was a lot of fun. At ESPN, we called it the welcome home, because the beauty of college football is the pageantry. It is the fans. It is the mascots, right? For Baylor, it's the Baylor line and the opportunity to run the Baylor line before the game against BYU on the field with the press was phenomenal, right? I got to do that with my wife. That's a memory that we're going to have for the rest of our lives. So to really enjoy that part of it was so cool. And then for me, being my first year in broadcasting, I got to experience so much from the front lines, right? From the different fan bases, from the different traditions that they have in the city, where they eat, what they do after the game. And that was fascinating for me. It kind of added more to the love of football that I already have from playing the game. Calling the game was something that I never thought I would ever do. But it's a blessing that God has placed in my life, and I plan on taking full advantage of it.
Robert, you mentioned that you've done a couple Baylor games along the way, and obviously you've kept in touch with the program. I mean, they're back to spring ball, so last year, it's just a memory more than anything else, but it's a good memory. I mean, what a run, Big 12 champs, Sugar Bowl champs. I don't think we've got to hear your thoughts just kind of on the summary of the season. What were they, and how impressed were you with how they were able to turn things around?
Oh, I mean, come on. With my analyst hat on, you say it was phenomenal. Defense really showed up big late in the year, being able to hold the teams that they were playing, especially Ole Miss, to minimal points and allow the offense to kind of grind things out. It was great to see Gary Bohannon go out there and show what type of player he can be as the starting quarterback. And then also Blake Shapen coming in and, completing his first 17 passes in his first start and helping the Baylor Bears win the Big 12 championship. So it was very awesome from an analyst standpoint, but just being an alumni, it just makes you proud to be a Bear, to see what they did coming from the previous year and then having one of the best seasons in arguably in program history, winning 12 games, winning the Big 12 and winning the Sugar Bowl. So I think it was just something that you look at Coach Aranda and you say, job well done. He's not going to celebrate after anything, and I know that they've already moved on. I've been listening to the press conferences, and they're trying to. But looking back at last year, it was a very, very special season, and I know they're looking to build on it. They got a lot of pieces to replace.
Robert, the quarterbacks, you mentioned Gary Bohannon and Shapen and what he did all the way up until and through the Big 12 championship game. And they have a competition going on. Gary right now getting most of the reps. You have been in that role. Of course, as a freshman walking on campus, everyone knew it was a matter of time. Your thoughts about a quarterback competition, can it fuel a team to become better, or is there sometimes a concern if it doesn't go well?
I think in this situation, both Gary and Blake, they're brothers, and I have an opportunity to mentor Gary, and I know how they feel about each other. So I think in their situation, it's unique because they're so close. And Gary went out and proved that he can be the starter for the long haul. And Shapen went out there and showed that he's not just a backup quarterback, and that he can play at a high level as well. So I think in this situation, it will strengthen the team, because you got to give Blake an opportunity to go out there and prove it. And then Gary just gets to go out there and stamp it, stamp that he is the guy, despite anything that happened later in the year. And he did go out there and lead him to a victory in the Sugar Bowl. So I think Coach Aranda is going to manage it the right way. Sean Bell is going to manage it the right way so that it will actually benefit the team in this situation. And Gary's going to continue to get the majority of the reps as long as he continues to prove that he's that guy. And I think he's going to keep doing that. And the Bears are going to be better for it. Not just this upcoming season, but also into the future, because this is the fifth year for Gary. So at some point, he make that transition to the NFL, prayerfully. And Shapen's going to have to step in and take it and kind of look at it with what happened with me and Nick Florence, and then Nick Florence and Bryce Petty. Right? You've got to have great quarterback play geared up and ready to go. And there's one thing we never did win when I was the starting quarterback, and that's the Big 12 championship. But that's because after we left, the team was better for it because of the foundation in that quarterback room, to where Nick comes in and then Bryce comes in and wins, I think, 2 Big 12 championships. So it all works together. And in the long haul, what Coach David Aranda is there for, it'll benefit them by having this competition and having Blake Shapen ready to go for years to come.
Robert, do you introduce yourself to people as a Heisman Trophy winner, ESPN broadcaster, or TikTok star, Robert Griffin?
Okay, that's a good one. I wasn't expecting that. I will say this: we went out to LA for the Super Bowl, and more people approached me and my wife about TikTok than anything else. So if you want to call us TikTok stars, if you want to have some fun, go look at our TikTok, the Griffin family. We're having a bunch of fun there with the kids, the wife, and just doing funny videos. It's just another element, man. TikTok's one of the most visited. I think it is the most visited website in the entire world. And there is a lot of fun that happens on there. So we just wanted to be a part of that and really open people's eyes to a different side of our family.
So, Robert, one of my college roommates today, when he found out we were going to have you on the show, he said, I've never asked you this, so I have to, because I'm a Florida State alum, just like your wife. And he said, not that, you're going to direct your kids, your daughters, to go anywhere, but he just wants to know that Florida State will have a fair shot when it comes time for your kids to go to school.
Yes, listen, that's a constant conversation in the household. I'm a Baylor through, right? And when I put the analyst hat on and I'm calling a Baylor game, I have to be unbiased. But when we're not calling games, we're completely biased. So I definitely want them to go to Baylor. But FSU does have a fair shot. My wife is a Seminole through and through, and we're not going to direct our girls to go anywhere in particular. So that being said, Baylor and Florida State will both be in the running for our girls to go there.
Look, if I have to get a statue of Greta at Florida State, I'll do it. Yeah.
Hey, she already has she's a heptathlon record holder at the school. So we went to do a Seminoles game there in Florida State in Tallahassee, and we took a picture with the girls. So that was pretty cool. But seriously, we love both schools. They might have some split shirts for a couple of years before they get to that. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, so one note about the quarterback roundtable in some ways in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers signs a monstrous deal, earned it. he's back. Tom Brady announces his retirement, then decides he's coming back. Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, those are two stories. Russell Wilson to Denver, Deshaun Watson to Cleveland. Have you ever seen such, I don't know if it's tumultuous, but so many big things happening within the NFL in the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, it's by far the just most outrageous NFL offseason I've ever seen, from a quarterback standpoint to the contracts that are coming out to how the receiver market has shot up to $30 million. I mean, it's completely wild. You know, Russell going to the Broncos is a great get for Denver. Probably not the greatest situation for Seattle, but he won it out. So now he's got to prove that he can cook without the Legion of Boom and without beast mode. So I think that's a very interesting dynamic going on there in Denver for Russell. And then Aaron, you know, just pulling off that massive contract that he got. Like you said, he earned it. He earned every single bit of it. But for him to come back and Devontae Adams to get traded, that was a little weird to me. I feel like those two guys are force multipliers, right? They make each other better. They make the whole team better, not just the offense. Everybody feeds off their energy. So now where do you get that energy from? Is it just from Aaron doing the championship belt celebration? You know, who's he throwing the ball to? We don't know a lot of the guys that are on the roster right now. And then Brady, I just think he went home after he retired and he got tired of his kids. You know, he was there every single day and he realized that he needed to come back and play football. He wasn't done yet. So I thought that was funny. He basically retired for 2 months and that was it. And then Deshaun Watson, you know, just the decision for the Browns to make that move when they made it, when he has those 22 pending lawsuits, civil lawsuits against him for the sexual misconduct and assault. It's weird timing that they did it then, but it just shows you that they're prioritizing winning and having a great player like Deshaun Watson is a great player on the field over anything that's happening off the field, and that's just interesting.
I know the kids are calling, and college football, you, of course, the Heisman Trophy when you left and all the endorsements you had being the number 2 overall pick. Now today, NIL. Now today, cost of living, athletes get that as well. And now they get academic bonus money up to nearly $6,000. Some schools did that this year. Can you imagine your earning potential if you could be in the college football game right now?
It's funny you say that because me and my wife were talking about it, and we actually did a TikTok talking about it. I had the chrome helmet, you know, the Baylor's chrome helmet. They got to bring those back, right? I mean, those are incredible. So I had the chrome helmet, and we did, you know, a little TikTok skit basically saying I wish I had a time machine so we'd go back to college and cash in on a lot of these NIL deals. But, you know, the thing I think the most of when I hear people ask me about that is just how happy I am for the players today. You know, when I was at Baylor, they're actually taking money out of my pocket because I had an academic scholarship and a full ride athletically, but it was capped at a certain amount of money that they could give per semester. So essentially my academic scholarship went back to the school. Well, now that you talked about they're giving those stipends and guys are allowed to make money NIL off the field, you know, I think that is something that would have benefited a lot of guys, not just them personally with being able to eat, you know, food, have the right meals, but also to be able to help their families. College football for the longest has marginalized its biggest asset, which is the players, the student athletes, male and female. So now to give them an opportunity to go out and make money just like the universities make money off of them, just like the NCAA makes money off of them, I think was monumental and shifts the balance in a positive way to the players, just like the transfer portal does, giving them the opportunity to go where they want to go or where they are needed or wanted the most at any given time.
Robert, it means a lot for you to be a part of the show when you are, but also today because it's the second anniversary of when we launched it, which you were a part of the first day. Thank you as always. Look forward to seeing you. Very good. It was great to see you inducted into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, which is one of the other ultimate honors you have. We appreciate your time.
All right. Appreciate you guys as always. I'm here when you need me. Anytime. Always proud to be a part of it. God bless.
Robert Griffin III, Texas Sports Hall of Fame, Texas High School Football Hall of Fame, of course, Heisman Trophy winner, and a part of many things before it's all said and done. He'll be a part of course, college football's various honors down the road. When we come back, speaking of the Hall of Fame, baseball's about to start their season, which was up for grabs just about 2 months ago. Tom Glavine, another great name that we've had on this show, discusses the start of the Major League Baseball season next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
It's Ram Truck Month at Allen Samuels. The new 2022 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab has all the quality for work or play. Impressive towing capabilities, heavy-duty payload capacity, smooth ride, and an interior design is why Ram is the first truck ever to win #1 overall in initial quality according to J.D. Power. When looking for a truck that can do it all, come see the possibilities. First responders get a $500 discount. Shop AllenSamuelsDCJ.com or come in and see the huge selection of brand new cars and trucks.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
We have had some amazing guests over the years, couple of years. Thanks to Robert Griffin III for launching the show today. And someone who's been incredibly good to us. Hall of Fame pitcher Tom Glavine joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Tom, thank you, as always, again, for your time and kindness to be a part of the show. Did you wonder if there would be a baseball season at any point, maybe earlier in the year?
No, I just wondered at what point we were going to have baseball. I would say I'm probably a little bit surprised that they got it done as quickly as they did after there seemed to be some problems. So, fortunately, they've salvaged the season, and that's a good thing.
You were, for a long time, the Braves representative, and your thoughts about that. How much stress did that bring, or was that a burden, or was that something you enjoyed?
A little bit of both. I mean, I saw Max Scherzer's comments where I think he said he didn't want to be a part of the next one, and I get that, but at the same time, I'm disappointed to hear that. You want to have guys who have experience, who are veteran guys, who understand the issues, and certainly have the experience of a collective bargaining process under their belt that they can draw upon. So, I know for me, I got into being a player rep because I went through the lockout in 1990, and I didn't like not knowing what was going on. So when the opportunity came up for me to be the player rep, I took the opportunity. It was a great learning experience for me individually as a player, because there are a lot of things in the collective bargaining agreement that affected me as a player that I really didn't know what they were, how they worked, or understand a lot of it. So that was really the other big reason why I did it. Now, as far as the work stoppage went, it was, it's an education you could never get in a business school anywhere. It was unbelievable in that regard, but it was stressful. I mean, we're trying to salvage the season at one point at the end of '94, and as time goes on, you realize that's getting tougher and tougher to try to salvage the season, and you feel like the weight of all that is on you as you're representing the other players. And then carrying it into the next season, kind of the same thing. So it's stressful, but like I've said many times, it's a learning experience that I could have never gotten anywhere else.
What changes do you like that they made, and which ones do you not, as far as the new rules go?
I don't know. I mean, I don't love the DH. I'm obviously a huge fan of the pitcher hitting for a number of reasons. One of which because I know how much I enjoyed it when I played. So, I'm sad to see that go. Some of the others, and you'll have to help me now, I think, have they implemented the no shift or modification on the shift rule and things of that nature?
Yeah, I don't think so yet. I think that one's coming, though.
Okay, so that one's coming. I think that's where I got confused. I think they're doing that in the minor leagues. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays in the minor leagues. I know they test a lot of these things at that level and see how it works out. But, I don't know. Look, anything that makes the game a little bit faster, a little bit crisper, a little bit more action, I'm all for it. I think I'm no different than a lot of fans right now that you get tired of watching all the pitching changes, and you get tired of watching, a 3-outcome game with home runs, walks, and strikeouts really being the only thing that goes on.
No, you said that perfectly. Absolutely agree with that. What are your thoughts on, expanded teams in the postseason and more teams having an opportunity to get in there? Does that help or hurt the regular season in your mind?
I don't think it hurts the regular season. I mean, I think that was the same argument or very similar as it related to the initial wild card addition, and I don't think that happened. I think the addition of the first wild card did exactly, I think, what Major League Baseball wanted it to do, and certainly the Players Association, which was to keep more teams in the hunt later in the season. I mean, that's always a good thing. The more teams you have in the mix, the better. I can tell you from experience, I played on a number of teams that, the season was over by Memorial Day, and it's not fun when you're having to drag that out. Now, there's no wild card scenario that would have saved some of those early years that I was in Atlanta with the teams I was on. But having said that, if you can expand it, to 8 or 10 teams, that's a good thing, and it makes it a little bit more difficult in the postseason because you got to win more games, you got to win more series. But I think by and large, it's a good thing, particularly for the fans, because like I said, it's just going to have more teams in the mix, which is good for more cities. I'll be interested to see, particularly this year with a shortened spring training, the additional playoff teams, the additional playoff rounds, how that affects guys late in the season this year, because that's a lot of play. It's a lot of baseball, and it's a lot of playoff baseball to have to get through.
Tom, when did you realize that you had the ability to pitch at the professional level? Was it once you got to that point? Was it early on? I mean, obviously what you did everything. You won a World Series. You're in the Hall of Fame. You won 300 games, everything. But when did you become what you think was when you truly were a tremendous pitcher?
You know, I guess in terms of, you know, you break that down into two parts, right? When did I know I could pitch professionally? Well, when you say professionally in general, you know, I knew my senior year in high school I was going to get a chance to play pro ball. I knew I was getting drafted. So I knew that was going to happen. And then once you get into the minor leagues, you know, you don't know whether or not you're going to get to the big league. You hope you are. And I think the big thing I tried to see was progress. And I remember when I left for minor league ball, that was the discussion my dad and I had was, look, let's give it 5 years. And if you're not making progress in 5 years, you need to get out and you need to go back to school, because the longer you stay out of school, the harder it's going to be to go back. And I was firmly committed to that plan. Thank God never had to implement it, because I got to the big leagues within 3 years. But, you know, then it's another step, right? I mean, it's like I always say, the hardest thing for any young player in the game, particularly a pitcher, is consistency. It's hard to go out there night in and night out and do the job. And it's, you want to get to the point as a player where your manager can pencil you in for a certain stat every year. When you do that, you've reached the point that you want to be. That's consistency. And I think that, for me, honestly didn't really sink in until probably after the 91 season, the first year that I won 20 games and won my first Cy Young Award. But even with that, I came back in 1992, and there was a portion of me in my mind that felt like, okay, let's prove now that wasn't a fluke, and that you can do this every year. And I turned around in 92 and ended up winning 20 games again. And I think then from that point on, I knew that I could become a consistent, really good pitcher. I hate to use the word elite, you know, I mean, that's fine for other people to use. I don't like to use it describing myself, but I knew I was one of those guys that had gotten to the point where my manager could count on me for a certain amount of innings every year, a certain amount of starts every year, and hopefully 15 plus wins. So that was kind of the progression of it.
What do you think the city of Atlanta is feeling as they start the season defending champs, even though I would say the favorite Brave of that era? I mean, he's up there with, you know, Dale Murphy and you and Greg Maddux and Chipper Jones and Smoltz. Freddie Freeman's gone.
You know, I think there's obviously going to be a tremendous amount of excitement, right? There always is for opening day. You know, they'll have an opportunity to celebrate that championship, which, you know, as I've said, they're the only team that gets to do that this year, and that's always a cool thing when you're that team. So there'll be a lot of those emotions and a lot of those thoughts. And, you know, again, with opening day, it brings excitement for everybody. Braves are no different, but I think their excitement is going to also be that they feel like they have a pretty good chance to repeat. And I would say they do. You know, I don't say that lightly, because I know how hard it is to repeat. A lot of things have to go right. A lot of things have to go right for you to win. So all those things have to go right again for you to win again. And guys have to stay healthy. And you know, there's a lot of ifs in that equation. But, you know, on paper, they're a solid team that has a really good chance to be contending for another World Series. Now, the emotion of not seeing Freddie Freeman over there at first base when the season starts is going to be a hard one. It's going to be one of very mixed emotions. You know, some people are going to be super sad that he's gone. Some people are going to be mad that he's gone, and you know, all of those things. But they got a pretty good replacement in Olsen to go over there and play first base. So that was certainly a good addition. But I think more than anything else, the fans are going to be excited, because when you look at that team and you look at that roster, I would say they're very much in the mix again.
How much did just watching them go on that run, how much did that drum up just memories and good feelings and all of that for you?
You know, it brought up certainly some memories for me from the 91 season. You know, the 91 season we were kind of chasing a little bit. And then again in the 92 season, we were chasing a little bit. And I remember there was one road trip that we went on that we went undefeated and really turned things around. And so when you see the kind of run that they got on from August 1st on, I mean, it was remarkable. And you know, you're not going to find anybody who's going to tell you that on August 1st, after the trading deadline with the moves the Braves made that they thought, okay, they got everybody they needed and this is a World Series team. And nobody thought that. They made some nice moves and they addressed some needs, but they were still a team that was barely above 500 and kind of trying to find themselves. And then they got hot, which, goes to show you that old cliche in sports you hear all the time. If you get hot at the right time, anything can happen. And I think the Braves certainly proved that.
So, Tom, we were talking yesterday about this new pitch comm system that certain guys are going to be trying or have been trying out and could be using in this season. Luis Severino said he's going to probably use it in his first start. Do you know much about this pitch comm system?
I don't. Tell me, what do you know about it? Tell me about it.
Okay, so a catcher will have a transmitter on their forearm that will look kind of like a wristband, and it has 9 buttons on this wristband, and the catcher will press a button to let the pitcher know the pitch call and the location, and the pitcher will have a receiver inside their hat that will communicate through a computerized voice in Spanish or in English what the pitch is, like fastball up, curveball down and in, or whatever. And the catchers will have audio devices in their helmets so they know the right signals are coming through. So describing it, I know, sounds very complicated, but hopefully you got the gist of it there.
I hate to be the fuddy-duddy league guy, right?
Yeah.
I get it. We're always trying to evolve. We're always looking at technology and how can it make us better. I feel like sometimes it's a little bit forced, right? And I look at outfielders and infielders now in baseball, and they have to have a wristband because they don't know where to play guys anymore. You have now with this system here, what happened to fastball? 1 is a fastball, 2 is a curve, 3 is a slider, and wiggle's a changeup. What happened to that? It's like for 150 years we've been doing those things in baseball, and it's worked just fine. I don't know if, again, it's like, hey, we have this technology, we have these things, we're going to utilize the wristbands and the this and the that, and it's going to make the game better, or is it that just guys aren't capable of understanding these things anymore? I don't know, but I know for me, again, as a pitcher, the signs were pretty universal, and you pretty much knew where you were trying to throw each pitch. So I'm not sure why all that, and just like I said, I'm not sure why, with the wristbands and how we're defending guys. Again, when I played, you had your infield coach that stood on the top step of the dugout and kind of directed traffic for each hitter. It just seems like a lot of stuff is a little bit forced and a little bit of overkill. But hey, whatever. I'm open to seeing how it works out. I'll tell you one thing right now: if it speeds up the game, I'm all for it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, and I think it's a response to all the sign stealing and all of that.
Yeah.
It's a way to try to get around that. I think is probably as much of the emphasis as anything. But yeah, a lot of technology, like you said.
But again, sign stealing has been in the game for 100+ years too, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason why with a runner on second base you use a sequence of signs, because that guy on second base is trying to see what your signs are, right? So I get that there's been some electronic use of sign stealing, which I'm not in favor of. But in general, if your signs are being stolen by the opposing team, that's on you. You guys aren't doing a very good job, And like I said, there's a whole host of things you can do to prevent that. But again, if not having to give multiple signs as a catcher to prevent the other team from stealing signs, you can do that quicker by having this communication system, then again, I'm all for quickness.
I just can't imagine this something that Bob Gibson or Don Drysdale or Nolan Ryan or even you or Greg Maddux would do. That kind of takes away from what you guys.
I don't know that it's a question of whether or not we would do it. I think the bigger question is what is the need for it, right? I mean, I think that sometimes is where the line gets blurred with veteran guys. Like take myself for example. When you talk about stuff like this, yeah, I get it. I sound like a curmudgeonly old guy that's against any change. I'm not. I'm for anything that makes the game better. But I feel like some of these things, it's like, what's the point? Why can't we just do, again, like I said, 1, 2, 3 wiggle? And if we think somebody's stealing our signs, then use a multiple of signs, add and subtract, or have an indicator that tells me what sign we're using. I mean, it's really not that hard to do a lot of these things. Like I said, my bigger question is not, hey, what's going on? My bigger question is, what's the need? Why do we need to be doing it? Because again, when I look at guys that are looking at their wristbands, and I look at a catcher looking at a wristband, or I look at a pitcher looking at something in his hat or whatever, all that's taking time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you have to show me that any of this stuff speeds the game up, because I feel like it's going to slow it down, to be honest with you, but that's just my thing.
Tom, if 12-year-olds can handle it, I think the pros can.
Exactly.
Hey, Tom, seriously, what you did as a career, what you've done to be on our show when you have, and I know that there are times when you've got a lot more important things to do than talk radio, but all of what you did, 300 wins, the Hall of Fame, the Cy Youngs, the All-Stars, the World Series, and all of that, it's great to have you on. And we appreciate your time and especially your insight as well.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. I enjoy coming on with you. So anytime, if I can do it, I'm happy to do it. But I can't, I'll let you know.
Yes, you will. Thank you, Tom. Tom Glavine, Major League Baseball Hall of Famer, inducted in 2014, World Series champion in 95. Just under. And by the way, hell of a hitter. 4-time Silver Slugger Award winner as a pitcher.
I want to say, actually asked him the last time we had him on, whenever that was, about Shohei Ohtani, and just seeing a pitcher hitting as well as he is capable of hitting, and obviously Tom, as you said, could hit the ball a little bit as well. So I remember asking him about that the last time around, but. Great player, definitely brings up a lot of memories for me, any of those old Braves. I think probably for anybody who's, kind of in my same age or wheelhouse, that's, something that stuck with you from your childhood was watching Braves games, whether you wanted to or not, because there's a lot of times I wanted to tune in to watch, Saturday nights, whatever, wrestling, and here was the Braves game, and I'm like, oh, come on. So... But, everybody in the 90s knew the Braves.
Cubs and Braves.
Chicks dig the long ball. Yeah. I watched the Cubs, the Braves, all the time. My father was a huge fan of the Braves pitchers. He really, always did.
How can you not be? Glavine, Smoltz, Maddox.
Yeah.
Avery. And they had a great run, won the series again in 1995. You wonder, guys like Tom Glavine and also Greg Maddox, when they go to the computerized strike zone, and some could nibble that strike zone a little bit better. And we appreciate Tom Glavine. Great guy. Appreciate his time.
When you're sitting there explaining the pitch comp system to Tom Glavine, it makes it really sound dumb in your head when you're trying to do it.
When you're saying that, I'm just trying to put myself in his head going,
yeah. Oh, my goodness. Hey, Robert Griffin III and Tom Glavine to start the hour and the show. In the next hour, we're going to hear from Baylor head football coach Dave Aranda. He was a part of our first show 2 years ago and many times since that time. Also, we are hoping that 3-time major champion Lee Trevino will be a part of our next hour, and we'll have our Masters picks as well with Rob Bolton of the PGA Tour. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Ideal MRI. There's an image right behind us, a logo right behind us from day one, just like some of you, from day one, in fact, before day one. Dr. Rob Maxey and his staff, Teresa, the front desk, also Marcus, Darlene, and Cheryl. And what they do is allow you and your doctor to find out why something, or why is your shoulder constantly in pain, or your knee. Is it a muscle? Is it a ligament? What is it? And I've told you this before. They can take MRIs of your abdomen if you're concerned about something that might be going on there. And it is a state-of-the-art MRI machine that people use because it is state-of-the-art, and we know. I've been in it. I've been in 3 or 4 different times. And on top of all of that greatness of what they can get a picture of your muscle, ligament, or whatever else, it's $497 or less. That's an amazing price for an MRI that normally the average is $1,100. So find out what hurts. Get exactly what's going on. Your doctor will recommend an MRI. If they do, you recommend Ideal MRI. They know about it, believe me. I even had a doctor at a big hospital tell me, no, you ought to go to Ideal MRI to get that done. IdealMRI.com.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Jet motion they go with here with Baldwin. And Baldwin breaks free. And the Bears, Sikkim, Monterey Baldwin.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Altmaier batted and intercepted. And it's Walcott bringing it back. Could he? Wire to wire, Sikkim Bears. How about it?
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Joined by Baylor head football coach Dave Aranda. Your time and journey at Baylor kind of coincides. You were on our very first show, Coach, on April the 6th of 2020, very soon after you took over, and we've had a great journey. What about the journey in life? And you're real good about explaining things like that and building and things that you've done in the past like that.
No, I appreciate it, and thank you guys for having me, for this. But I just think I think it's inside out. I think the ability to have that view of yourself. You know, I just think on the outward side of it, man, just how hard is it to have like an honest conversation with somebody, right? With just the maybe the different beliefs or the tainted views or the skewed perspectives or the unquestioned beliefs that you're bringing into it, right? And so I just think the ability to really kind of search and kind of work it from an inside out perspective is the big part of the journey, because I think, especially as a coach, right? If the character of a coach is not right, then it's going to be hard to get the team culture right. I don't think the team can become what the coach is not,
Mm-hmm.
And so I just think it's a lot of work.
Is it easier to chase to be a champion, or is it more difficult to stay on top?
That's a good that's a good question. I think they're very different. I think when you're chasing, I think there's the issue there is belief, and I think when you're staying on top, the issue there is accountability, and so I think there's I don't think it's mutually exclusive. It's just one or the other. But I think the major theme when you're chasing is belief. It's just that, hey, that this can work. That this is there's somebody else's view of it. Here's someone else having success. Here's what I saw on TV. Here's what I'm seeing on social media. But this is what we're doing, and I'm going to believe that it works. And I think all of that's very hard. I think especially if you're way different. And then I think to stay on, I think there's an element of I use it in a coaching perspective, but guys coming back that were on a successful team last year. They were grad assistants, and now they're promoted to full-time coaches. Or last year they were full-time coaches, but now they're calling plays. Now they've graduated to coordinators. And I just think like that accountability and that responsibility, and to let go of the old and to embrace the new, even though the old was good, but to embrace the new. And this ain't 21, this is 22, and this is what let's not worry about what looks good. Let's worry about what's real and get into it. I think that takes a lot of work too.
If you've had success over time, that prevents some from being entitled to say, well, they've been winning, so that's just, maybe they don't know of how hard it was what you guys did in 20 in the offseason of 2021, and the incoming players, they don't understand that at times? I
agree with that. I think, when you have a team of 115, 120 guys, I think, and then just, the staff changes, or, let's say there's guys that get raises, and it's like that can change. The thing about, like, what's great about all of this is just it's a platform to show the world who you are, and there's so much growth that can take place, in it. And you talk about just like the season, we play on Saturday. Every Sunday you got yourself a brand new team, because someone had success, someone didn't, someone risked it and was rewarded, someone risked it and was burnt, right? Someone's got confidence, someone doesn't. You got a brand new team on that Sunday. And I just think the off season, for sure, that's the case, brand new team. And so I think to be real with it, with what is real, and to not sugarcoat it, or to not fly over it, but to kind of sit with it, is hard. But I think that's where the growth is.
You told me one time, I asked you this question about the defensive talent in the SEC compared to what you've seen so far in the Big 12, and you talked about just the alpha dog raw talent that they had, especially on defense, and that in the Big 12 is much more scheme oriented. You are accumulating what I call some dogs, and it seems like you're adding pieces like almost, constantly. Are you getting to a point where you're starting to accumulate that type of defensive talent?
I think the additions that we've made have been strong in terms of that, that side of it. I just think, there's just immediately as you're asking the question, my mind goes to the LA Lakers, and I just think of there's so much that goes into. I think people are always hired for job skills, and they're generally fired for behavioral skills, and so you have to have both, right? And you have to develop both, and what it means to be a teammate, and how do we want players to treat players, and how do we want, players to treat coaches? How do we want coaches to treat players? And just all of that. And so I think within the talent acquisition, it's more of who the person is, right? What is what are their beliefs on what this is all about and why we're here, and what's their why, and kind of get it ingrained so that they can be them, but then align with us, move with us, and so all of that is kind of really what's happening right now, and so it's great to. It's exciting when you can kind of see the potential of a thing, but then, I think every, interaction, every, negative thing that comes up or any positive thing that comes up, how that's handled, I think is way important, because you're showing who you are in those things. And so it's a time of talent acquisition for sure, but it's also a time of building a culture, and I think those two things are tied at the hip.
You are very young at wide receiver. You've mentioned that, but you have some guys there that look the part, no question. Is that a position where younger players can be more impactful because of pure skill than perhaps other places, perhaps like the defensive line or the offensive line or a quarterback, that wide receivers can be more impactful even if they're younger?
I think there is some truth to that. I think there has to. I think the scheme and what is being asked of them, right, has to enable that. And so I think of some of the strengths that we have on offense is really the alignment, the simplification, the cohesiveness, the strong identity in the run game. And I think, really getting, and I think that shows, you can do simple better. And I think the throw game wise, I think that is really our charge with being as young as we are, right? Because it can go the other way if it's this depth, if it's too high, it's that depth, if it's one high, right? If it's one high with outside leverage, it's this. If it's one high with inside leverage, it's that. If we get into those weeds, then it's the other thing,
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the ability to enable our best players to play their best is a big part of it.
You have some quarterbacks in that room, and obviously with skins in the wall, what Gary did, and then what Blake was able to do, and also the young up-and-coming with what Kyron Drones and Rodgers bring to the table. Sometimes a quarterback competition can hurt a team because it can split a team, but you have a couple of guys that get it. You have more than a couple. How do you keep that, and how difficult is that to make sure that you have players like Gary and Blake who understand whatever is best for them is best for the team?
No, I appreciate that. I think it's, so far so good with that. I think it's, from this point on is when all of that I think will really be tested.
Mm-hmm.
I think is probably the first thing to say. But then I think, give a lot of credit to Sean Bell and to all of them, Gary and Blake and KD and all of it. I just think really like defining what it is. This is what the competition is. This is what we're looking for. Like being really clear on that definition is strong. And then, then I think the other thing is like modeling, like, hey, this is how we compete, right? This is how we become good teammates. This is how we give, as a coach, real clear and concise communication, and everyone knows kind of where we're at. I think those things kind of help because I think the trust level needs to be that when you're not in the view of the guy, you think the guy's got your best interests at heart, and so I think that's the key. And so I think the ability to define it clear, to have really good communication, and to model kind of what it looks like is a big piece.
Mike Gundy remains, without question, the senior head coach in the Big 12, with Patterson now gone at TCU. There's a lot of coaches who have been in a year or two or three. This is year 3 for you. Do you see the conference in any way in the Big 12 changing based on the constant or the newness of the coaching staffs?
I think there's going to be an element of more spread entering in. I think just a year ago we were talking about how it looked like it was trending out, but I think Tech is going to be a factor there with a spread offense. I think West Virginia sure still is, and then I think TCU is going to be a factor there, and so I think some of that is changing. Oklahoma for the time being is another one where it's going to be a spread look. And so I think there's some of that, back in the league where it was kind of transitioning out. And so I think it's good. The amount of tight ends that are in the league and the amount of, wide zone and play action pass shots and everything that are going to happen on Saturdays, I think is way strong compared to most conferences. And I think the spread element just kind of rounds it off and gives it a really unique complexion, man, because 1 week to the next it's going to be about as opposite as you can be.
You seem to be pretty much I guess ahead of the curve with what you do with your defensive schemes that you learned along the way, and now what you've done at Baylor, LSU, Wisconsin, Utah State, etc. How do you keep from getting ahead of yourself? How do you keep the checks and balances to make sure you don't, I've got this thing covered, and that you continue to humble yourself?
Yeah, I think the need to understand and the need to learn, I think it's just kind of is always there. And I just think like time moves fast, man. There's things in 2019 that we were doing that you really can't do now. It's caught up to those things, and so then you have to kind of move on. And it's a cool, that is a really cool thing about it is that you can't cheat the game, and the game will pass you by for sure. And so, so much of my time is spent with people on people things, and generally those are messy. And so when you do come out of that, it is cool to get into football and kind of see where things are going and who's doing it and kind of where the trends are, and talk to people that are, at the front of those trends. It used to be when I called, no one would answer, but now I get some answers, so I can call people and they can pick up.
What did Mack Rhodes' extension mean to Dave Aranda?
No, excited for him, excited for us. He's been a big reason why this is the place for me and my family, for us, and I think the ability to talk to him about anything, and then for him to to come with just the view that he does and where sport is and the fit that it has with the person and the journey that we all go through. I think, he gets it completely, and just way happy for him and for us.
I know that you guys have a long way to go, the spring, the game, scrimmage, and then, of course, the off-season and the season. How proud are you when you look back at where you were, what the program was when you arrived, that Matt Rule had left some of what he had in the cupboard, but what you guys have done in a couple of years, and not just the staff, but also the players themselves that have bought in?
No, I appreciate the question. And I look at just the vulnerability that has to take place. I think some of the things we talk about are just not the normal things. And it, I imagine it starts with me. I just, if I don't talk like this, then I would be acting on what, these are what coaches are supposed to say. Mm-hmm. I have to imagine there was probably some of that when I first started, and so to let that go and to just be completely me, I think is probably a vulnerable thing. And then I think for the players to kind of let go of hey, this is what a coach is supposed to look like. This is what it's supposed to look like to be a football team. This is what you're supposed to talk about, right, when you win and all that, to kind of let that go, because they're kind of, you got to walk into a black hole, really, a void, because it's all new to them. And then I think coaches too, because it's, I think on one side of it, when you're sitting back in the summer to have a talk about compassion and, nuance and truth and everything is one thing, but then to be talking about it, prior to a Wednesday practice of a whatever week, game week, that's a whole other thing. And I think for them to come to that point is way cool too. So I think a lot of people have allowed themselves to be real, be vulnerable, and allowed us to get better.
Dave, thanks a lot. Again, April 6, 2020, we began soon after you began, and to have you on that first show and to have you on the second anniversary show means a lot. Good luck the rest of the spring, and thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys.
Dave Aranda, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Go ahead, Craig.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to mention there was Dave Aranda, Sikkim 365 Radio, and there was one question that he could not answer that I wanted to point out. Josh White.
Yes.
He could not talk about Josh White because the paperwork is not clear. So when Smokey asked, y'all have any questions? I had a question about the changing of the Big 12 with all the hires that have been made, and he had a really, unique answer and said, yeah, there's going to be more spread concepts. So it was cool to hear that. But the other question I had was obviously to hear him talk about Josh White and the addition of him, but we're going to have to wait. And hopefully we'll get a heads up when that's cleared and know when we can ask, because I'm very curious to hear his thoughts on Josh White.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for bringing that up. I had to ask through those at Baylor, when can he discuss a player, because there's not really a signing day. He will enroll, and then I guess he's probably cleared to be. I did ask him, knowing that in a way, about the additional or the accumulation of various talent from Siaka Ika, and now, of course, with Josh White and what it's bringing to the table for Baylor and the football program. Hope you enjoyed that with Dave Aranda. We appreciate that. He is such a nice guy, man. And his first answer to my question, I'm still trying to go back and listen to it, because it sometimes I have to dig deep, because he is it's just incredible to listen to. It really is.
As somebody who often recaps, various interviews he does, you kind of have to listen twice through. You really do. Like when you're standing there, like when I was standing there on Saturday and listening to him talk about stuff, there was maybe if he goes a little longer on something, just kind of like, okay. But then I go back and listen to it like an hour later, and I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't hear him mention that and that and that, and all that makes sense. And so, you kind of have to give him a run through twice, but always fun to listen to.
He's like the dude in Kung Fu.
Yeah, very wise.
Yeah.
Very wise.
I mean, there's different ways we've tried to explain him, and he's definitely unique, but I've really gotten to the point and enjoyed the time when we get a chance to visit with him, whether it's a media session, one-on-one, or elsewhere. All right. We're going to have Rob Bolton, PGAtour.com on the Masters. We're going to pick our teams. We have a draft. Armstrong is also involved in this, so he'll be a part of the segment. Paul, Craig, me, and also Rob Bolton. But what we hope coming up next, and this is 50-50, three-time major champion, and as good an interview segment as you could possibly have in Lee Trevino. Next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, another one of those number one day sponsors for us that have been with us since April 6th of 2020. And look, you've heard me talk about them for 2 years straight now, and what they do there, their customer service is second to none. Their drive-through window is really fast. They've got more selection of craft beer, a wider selection of roster. He just churns and churns and churns there, Steve Chapman does. High-end bourbons. And if you're kind of just looking for something, maybe a gift for somebody, maybe you don't know a lot about wine or vodka or gin or whatever, and you're looking for somebody who might like those things as a gift, walk on in, ask them about it, and they'll tell you anything you need to know. Again, what they do is really special there, and they always have cool things going on, different product, new product, things moving through the store. So if you like to try new things, no better place to go try it than Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves. Probably 9 out of 10 every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
So we will hear from Rob Bolton in the next segment, PGAtour.com, on the Masters. The par 3 tournament, there were some that were able to get to 4 under par, and then eventually it was rain delayed. It's been a week. It's been quite the week as well. And in fact, the Masters clarified on Phil Mickelson. He was invited, or not invited, he was allowed to come and play. He decided against it. And oh my goodness, Lee Trevino.
What happened?
Yeah.
What happened, baby?
How you doing, man?
Goddamn, I went to play the par 3 and they postponed it. I mean, they canceled it. My God, I had 7 grandchildren and all my kids, and I had them dressed in overalls and straw hats, and they wouldn't let me in.
Man, you know what? I thought they opened up everything at the Masters, Lee. I thought they'd gotten more diverse.
They are. They. I mean, didn't you see all those people? I mean, didn't you see all that crew? I mean, there was a zillion people there. All right. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I watched it all day. You understand what I'm saying? And I watched 3 guys tell lies for about 17 hours, and I turned it off.
Oh my Lord! You won 3 majors, but this was not the course. Was it the shape of your shot, the way you hit the ball, that this was never going to be one that you felt too comfortable with, the Augusta National course?
If you really look at the way that the golf course is built, and a lot of, when I said it wasn't right. It wasn't cool. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't cool to criticize that I wasn't able to play that. I can play anywhere in the world, but they asked me what I thought of the golf course, and I told them it wasn't one of my favorites simply because, and everybody tells you that you got to draw the ball there. And I saw Thomas was talking about it yesterday. He said, the problem I've had the last 3 years is I'm trying to draw the ball. He doesn't draw the ball. Thomas, if anything, loses the ball to the right because he has tremendous fast hip action with his right hip. And so he says, now I'm going to just try to hit it straight and forget about it. He said, the only draw you really need is on 9, and I can hit a 3-wood there. But I went in there with thinking that I had to draw the ball. I remember taking off the week before and working on a hook. And man, as I've said many times, I said, you can talk to a fade, but a hook won't listen. I mean, you can talk to it all you want. It won't listen to you. So, you had to draw to really play Augusta well. When I played it, you had to draw the ball off the tee. Just about every hole for the, is a dog leg left. 11 was a little bit of a fade, but that was about it. And also the greens. If you really look at the greens all slope from left to right. Every one of them. That's the way they were built. Mr. Jones drew the ball. I mean, when they built that golf course and started in 1932, finished it in 1934 was the first tournament. We played with Hickory. Hickory had a tremendous amount of torque in it, and you drew the ball all the time as a hook. So that's the way he built his course. He built it that way, and I can understand it. But I don't know about now. They've made it so long. Every year they tweak it a little bit. And I've got to tell you this. They tweaked 11. 11, they moved it over to the left. There used to be a player's bathroom, a men's room over to the left, off the tee. And they took that out and they moved it back. And I will tell you this, it's going to be very interesting because I want to watch this. I'll watch Augusta. I mean, I'll watch every shot they hit. But number 15 is going to be the turning point of this golf tournament. And you remember when Bubba won the first time, he hit a gap wedge. I mean, it's a par 5. They have a couple of weak par 5s on the back 9. Haven't done much to 13, but they're doing something to 15. So by moving the 11th fairway over, they took the tee from the 15th and moved it past and behind number 10, which they added a tremendous amount of yardage. You're going to have to go into that to that green with a hybrid or a 4-iron, 3-iron, or a fairway wood, or you're going to have to lay up, and then you're going to have a slick little downhill wedge shot to a very, very narrow green. I mean, it's going to be chaos there. You're going to see some double, triple bogeys on 15 this year. No question in my mind.
Lee, what do you think about Tiger and playing this course, the first competitive tournament that he's had in 17 months since his accident?
I can tell you one thing. I saw the way he swung at the father-son in December. I talked to him over at the end of the driving range. He and I and Charlie and my son were over there hitting. My wife and him were there in the cart. And he comes over and we chat a little bit. I've known Tiger since he was 8 years old. And I asked him about that because he had tour speed there. That was in December. They timed him, and he was hitting the ball with Charlie that they finished second to John Daly. And he hit the ball tour speed. There was no question that he had been hitting a lot of golf balls. And we talked about it a little bit, and he says, well, it's not the question. I asked him if he was going to play Augusta. I said, I know that's probably going to be your first one. He says, well, I don't know yet. He says, Lee, he said, it's not the question of me hitting these shots. He said, my problem is I don't know if I can walk 18 holes. And he says, I'm not going to take a cart. He says, and Augusta is one of the hardest walking courses there is. Augusta's in a beautiful piece of property. It's on the side of a little mountain there. And you got to walk a lot of, in other words, the undulation, there's going to be side hill and downhill and uphill. Downhill is probably going to be more difficult for him to walk than uphill. And he says, I don't know. The one thing you have to take from Tiger Woods, Butch Harmon told me this once, is he will find a way to play, and he will find a way because he's a mechanic. He can adapt to anything, and he will know whether when he's on that back nine, if he's a little weak and the right leg is not working the way it should, Tiger will automatically choke down an inch and take another club and make up for the yardages that he's losing by not being able to fire the right side. He's a genius when it comes to that. Butch Harmon told me that in the beginning. He told me, he says, I quit teaching him, Lee, because I couldn't teach him anymore. This is exactly what he told me. He said, he said, this guy, he says, knows more about the damn golf swing than I do. And that's the way that he is. He is, look at his golf swing. Do you see another golf swing like that on the tour?
No, sir.
I mean, they look like pretzel makers compared to him.
Didn't you one time? One time you were talking about he was struggling driving the ball. Didn't you say you would go out in the range with him and hit a bucket of balls? You could get him to hit a cut or something like that when he was.
Oh no, he can do all that. Yeah. I asked him one time. He said, "I said, don't you get? You got to put the ball in the fairway." He said, "Why?" I said, "What?" He said, "Why you got to put it in the fairway?" He said, what the hell? He said, what are you crazy? He said, I'm trying to hit it 350 and then I'll negotiate the wedge out of there. He says, I don't care where it goes. He said, I just want to hit it 350 yards. He's the one that started power golf. When he came out there and started out driving everybody by 50 yards, they're saying, God damn, we got to speed up a little bit. And this is what happened. It's like a car race. I mean, if you're racing and all of a sudden the guy is leaving you in the dust and he has the piston well bored out, and he's got all this fancy stuff on the engine, you're going to do the same thing or you can't compete. So, and that's the way they're teaching today. They're teaching by, if you have a youngster, they say, hit it as hard as you can, and then we'll deal with the rest of it later. That's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. They hit it so far, and everybody's talking about bringing the ball back or taking the courses. You can't bring them longer. I mean, come on. I mean, these poor members that are playing these golf courses and stuff, and you can't reach the par fours. I can't reach the par threes now. My swing speed is, I couldn't get a ticket in the school zone, with my swing speed. I can hear my ball land. I'm not lying to you.
Oh, my God. I saw you put on a clinic. It was at a tournament. It was I guess a Pro-Am in Tyler. And I saw you put on a golf clinic out there where you get balls that like go both directions, hit in the middle and all that. I mean, oh, my God. I just can't even explain it if people haven't seen what you can do on the range.
Well, I just think about it. In other words, I make my body does what my thought is. That's the way I learned to play golf. I think that's one of the reasons that I went from a farm to the Marine Corps to labor working on a golf course until the age of 22, starting to play golf. And then by the time I was 27, I won the U.S. Open. I just think of a shot that I want to hit and my hands and my body react to it. I don't think of anything else. I mean, when I walk up to a ball, if the wind's against me, I say, man, I'm going to walk up on this baby and hit it low. And I look like Fred Astaire. I mean, my feet are moving and I hit it. I mean, that's what I do. That's what I do. I mean, that's how I play golf. You know, there's only one guy that I've ever seen that hits the ball quicker than I do, and that's Matt Jones.
Oh,
have you seen this guy?
Yeah.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
He looks at the hole one time and boom, that's the way I play. Yeah, Matt Jones does it. Yeah. Now these guys get on the green and they're straddling the line, and then they're straddling the line backwards, and then they're giving the finger to the hole. You know, they lift the hand up and the fingers are going in different ways and stuff. I said, what the? I don't understand what that is. I mean, somebody's got to explain it to me. And they're looking down at their feet. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so much time. I sit there and, you know, again, I'm not trying, but I wonder how I could be patient enough if even I was playing for the kind of money that they are. I just don't
the big.
Yeah.
Well, you know, if you really realistically look at it, I think they could be playing for more, because if these guys are the greatest in the world, and they're not getting paid. Naturally, they have endorsements, and they're not getting paid. They got to go out there and earn it.
Yep.
Every other athletic teams and stuff, I mean, they get paid. I mean, you give a quarterback $40 million and he gets hurt and he can't play. You give a running back $20 million and he hurts his finger and he can't play, but he gets paid. So when you finish up the year and you say, okay, well, how much money did I win? And you're the best. You're the number one. You're the best. You won $9 million. Well, compared to everybody else, it's not too big. I'm glad to see the ladies making more money too. That Dinah Short thing, that lady that won $750,000. That's a big prize for them. That's good that's coming up. Yeah.
Lee, you've had many stories about when you were growing up playing the game and you were hustling some guys as well. How many times did you start playing against somebody when you had a bet and you didn't have that much money in your pocket?
Every time I played. You know, I mean, the one thing you always have is you have a nice putter and you have nice clubs. So if you lose too much and you can't pay them, let them have half of your clubs. Don't worry about it. You know, he says, here, take the putter. I'll buy it back tomorrow. Don't worry, I'll bring you the money tomorrow. We always knew. I mean, we were friends, and we knew none of us had any money. But that's the way that we play. You know, they have me playing for all this money and everything. Are you kidding me? The most money I ever made working was $100 a week. And so when we played quarter skins, $1.09 or something. It was nothing. I mean, they got me playing for thousands and thousands and thousands. I never did that. Now, other people bet on me against people and bet a lot of money, but I didn't. No, I never did.
What are your thoughts about the Saudi Arabian, the tour that Mickelson was going to try to either use as leverage to help the players? Of course, you know how that ended. He's not at Augusta this week. What are your thoughts about how all that went down?
Well, you know, I don't even know exactly what the hell happened there, but I do know one thing, that words have consequences. My wife always tells me that. She says, be careful what you say. Everybody's got a recorder. You know, Will Smith tapped the guy on the shoulder, and it's over with. I was brought up the way that you never slap anybody because that would beat the hell out of you. You got to give them a right cross. you got to put them on the floor. If you're going to hit somebody, put them on the floor. In other words, don't slap them. I mean, come on. But I was very surprised at that thing. With Phil, Phil's a great guy. Hell of a player. Done a lot for the game. Just made a mistake. That's all. Hopefully, there's second chances in this country. And I can't wait for him to come back. I mean, here's a guy that wins the major championship at the age of 51. I mean, come on. The guy's got a tremendous amount of talent. He just messed up. I do it every day.
Yep.
I do it every day. I mess up every day, and then I can't sleep at night because I know the guy's going to slap me or something when I see it.
The last time we had you on,
when you talk as much as I do, you can't think about what you say. I mean, come on.
Don't ever change. Yeah. Oh my God! Please don't ever change, Lee. Don't ever.
When you talk this fast, there's no way that you know what the hell you're saying. There's no way. It won't happen.
The last time we had you on, there was supermexgolf.com. Is that still something that you're doing?
Oh yeah, we do it. It's doing quite well. Good. It's on the Instagram and it's on the. Thank you for asking. Yeah, my son now has got the head covered. He's got T-shirts. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're working it pretty good. Yeah, we're doing it great. We're doing it great. We have different logos too. I mean, there's a sombrero logo without the golf club. Mm-hmm. In other words, and it's smaller and stuff. It's a little and it's top of the line. Everything is top of the line. As a matter of fact, I've got about 300 hats up in my closet, and I looked at them, and they have Supermex on the back and everything, but he didn't like the material. And I said, what are you going to do with those? He said, next time you start a fire in the fireplace, he said, stick them in there. I said, what the hell are you talking about? I said, I can give these away. I said, these are top of the line. He said, I don't like the material. He said, I'm not selling that. And he says, I said, well, I can give them away. He said, no, I don't even want them out there.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. I appreciate you asking. Yeah, he's doing very well with it. Well with it.
Yeah, we want to help you too because you coming on our show is a big deal. We appreciate it, especially the week of the Masters and all the storylines.
Oh man, I tell you, this is gonna. They've got a lot of players that are playing extremely well. Kepka's going to be he's starting to play pretty good. He loves major championships. Kepka does. He's going to be pretty thing. Watch this guy Burns, okay? The guy can putt, and he hits the ball long, and he hits it straight. But Scotty from up here, he's playing awfully well. The only problem with being number one is you've got all the attention. I don't know if, he's not the type of guy. Scotty is a lot like DJ. DJ didn't like, he wanted to be number one, but there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of press, a lot of radio, a lot of TV. You don't have time for you. It kind of messes up your routine a little bit. I don't know. Scotty is kind of he doesn't. He kind of goes by he dances to his own drummer. He likes to be relaxed. He doesn't want to do much. He likes to play golf. Case in point, I watched his interview yesterday, and that's what he was talking about. He said, no, my wife and I like to play word games, and he says, we don't do much. We don't go out. We don't do this. We don't do that. So that's going to be what's tough with him. Being number one, going to Augusta, he's going to get a hell of a lot of attention. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And he's going to go to the press room regardless of what he shoots because he's number one. He's always going to be invited to go in there. And the question is going to be, what happened? That's a hell of a question. What happened? What do you mean? You wasn't out there watching me? That's what I used to tell him. What the hell you mean? Oh, what happened? You've been up here drinking wine all day and eating sandwiches, and you want to know what happened to me? The hell with you. You should have been out there watching.
Have you ever gone to the Masters and just walked it as a part of the crowd? I mean, have you ever...
Are you crazy? Have you lost your mind? Have you lost your... I get invited every day to play. And I tell people, I said, I don't play golf anymore. He said, really? I said, you want to play a few holes? No. I said, I did that for a living. I said, what do you do? He said, well, I was a doctor. I said, do you go back to the hospital every day just to cut somebody open? I said, you go back there to clean up some blood and cut somebody open or what? What are you, crazy?
Oh, my God.
I'm going to watch somebody? Are you crazy?
Yeah.
I watch Tiger.
Yep.
But I wouldn't on TV.
Yep.
Tiger makes me turn my television on. He's the only one that makes me turn my TV on. As soon as I come in the house, I'll turn it on. I'll say, how's Tiger doing? I used to do that with Jack and Arnie. They make me turn my TV on. Yeah, that's not too many people do that. Yeah, we don't watch. We don't watch other people play. I do watch. I do watch guys in their short game and everything. Like this Howland kid, he's a terrible wedge player. He should buy the house next door and then come over and knock on my door and say, "Hey, neighbor."
Oh my!
That's what he needs to do. Then I'll teach him how to use that damn wedge, and he'll beat everybody. I love his demeanor. He's cool as a cucumber. And but boy, he's a terrible bunker player. He's just bad at wedges. Terrible at wedges. And I saw him today hitting wedge shots, and the reason for it, he got the ball too far forward, got too much weight on the right side, which means the club is not coming up. In a bunker shot, you got to lift the club up in the air so you can go down and hit the sand. The bounce is going to make the club come back up. Problem with bad bunker players is they try to help the ball out, so they hit up on it. You don't have to hit up on it. That's why the bounce is there. The club, your job is to hit down on it. So he's going back too low because his weight's on the right side. You see, to play great wedges and great bunker shots is pretend that you're in the doorway. Okay, stand in the doorway and see if you can lean left and touch it with your left hip. The door jamb. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And that's where your position you should be in when you hit little short pitch shots and bunker shots. And if you don't believe it, watch them. All your great ones. Well, I'll tell you this. Abraham Answer has a little thing on Instagram or something where he teaches the short game. It's the best I've ever seen. Abraham has it. If you can Google it or whatever, you can bring it up. I still have the cell phone, so that's why I'm talking fast, because if my battery runs out, you're a dead man.
No.
You're a dead man. You're a big
Yeah. Lee, I appreciate it. I was going to ask you for a tip, if you wouldn't mind, the common everyday or weekend golfer, but I think you just gave us one, and
the bunker shots are extremely difficult for the average guy. And the reason for it is simply because they don't practice it enough, okay? Everybody goes to the driving range, the first thing you do is start hitting drivers. It don't make any difference if you roll the ball off the driver. It's going to go 250 yards. But if you got a 20-foot bunker shot and you don't get it out of the bunker, hey, you only hit that ball 4 feet. Now, come on. And this is what happens to you. Bunker shots are hit with the weight left. The reason for that is simply when you go back, and in other words, you're steeper. And you have to be steep when you're hitting a bunker shot. You can't take the club back low. You understand what I'm saying? If you take the club back low, that means your weight's on the right side. And your weight's on your back foot. And that's a no-no. That's a no-no. Gary Player is one of the greatest in the world. If you can Google him, watch him. And he digs graves when he hits a bunker shot. He makes the sand, makes the ball go out on the green, because the one thing you got to remember is when you're hitting a bunker shot, that club is not hitting that ball. There's a cushion of sand between you and that ball, the club and the ball. And what happens is the sand has to get out on the green before the ball's going to get out there. So when you take a practice swing, see if the sand's hitting the green. And, but yeah, the big mistake is people will lean to the right simply because they want to get the ball up. They want to lift it. You want to lift the ball up, you hit down on it, and the sand blows it up, gets it up in the sky. Yeah. It's real easy. It's real simple.
You are the best, man. We appreciate your time, Lee, as always. As you said,
God bless you. I'm glad you're back, man. I'm glad you're back.
Yeah, well, we are. And when I call
I'll wave at you. I'm going to Houston here in about 20 days. I'll wave at you as I go by, okay?
Wave at us when you drive through here, buddy. Thank you, Lee. Thank you so much.
I'll honk. Okay, right, man. Bye-bye. Bye.
Lee Trevino. God, he is Daniel Acton. Freaking great interview. He's just a personality. I remember the first time I ever interviewed him I was in Lufkin, Texas at the Crown Colony Pro-Am, and then a few other times since that time. But watching him on a range doing a trick shot show is unbelievable. He won 6 majors during the time. Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, Palmer, all of them. And he was fantastic. He does not like Augusta National because of the way his ball flight is or his what he does with the ball, but he is incredible. When we come back, we will pick who we think will win or at least get to the weekend at Augusta National with Rob Bolton, PGAtour.com. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. Richard Carr, been in business for over 20 years now in Central Texas, and they want you to come celebrate the great anniversary savings that they have going on right now. 23 years in the automotive business for Richard Carr. They want to thank Waco and Central Texas for their support. Right now, they've got new GMC trucks, GMC, Buick SUVs, Cadillac SUVs, all arriving daily. They're seeing new vehicle arrivals not only daily, but each and every week, and that's been the case now for quite a while, even though there's been those microchip shortages and other problems in trying to find cars. Richard Carr is delivering vehicles as often as possible. So right now, the best way to get into a car as fast as you possibly can is to get on their inbound vehicle list and get your new car or truck as they arrive. And for qualified buyers, you can buy a truck now and get 0% financing for 72 months on most GMC vehicles and Buick SUVs. And summer vacations on the horizon, so maybe you're looking to get out on the road, go to the beach, the amusement park, whatever the case may be, with the family or with friends. Well, you want to be in a comfortable ride. And if you're looking for an SUV, they've got 11 different SUV models to choose from with dozens of trim options. They are a one-stop shop to find that perfect SUV starting at $24K. So call now, come by now, or go online to find that perfect SUV for your family this summer. And if you're looking to buy pre-owned, they have plenty of options there as well. All of those vehicles going through a 172-point inspection, and 100% credit approval is always the goal. So again, just go online, come by the dealership, and they will set you up for a test drive today. It's anniversary month at Richard Carr. Trust the good local people you can count on for 23 years in Central Texas. Proud Wacoans and proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers, and dog
dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Sikkim 365 Radio, this 3 o'clock. And now 4 o'clock and headed into the 5 o'clock hour. Hope you've enjoyed today's show. And now a frustrating segment for me and has been for many, many, many years. Kind of like the NCAA men's basketball tournament. No matter who I get, no matter what number I choose, I cannot do well. Although I did win this thing a couple of different times. Rob Bolton, PGAtour.com, joins us to discuss the Masters. He's with us during the majors. Rob, how you been? Haven't talked to you in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a minute, guys. Good to hear your voices. Was listening in on Lee Trevino's discussion and interview. You're right, hell of an interview. I was ready to just yield my time. I think I've never heard this anywhere else, but I remember him saying once, he was like 77, and somebody asked him, Lee, how you doing? And he's like, I'm great. He's like, Lee, when was your last physical? He goes, physical? I feel great. I've never had one. I'm like, okay. And you know what? You listen to it in his voice. I hope he lives forever. He's the best. You're right.
He is absolutely phenomenal. Let's talk about a couple of things with the tournament, and then we'll get into our picks, if you don't mind. And by the way, Grant Taft will join us in the next segment here on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. What has so much been said about Tiger that it's like completely overshadowed Scheffler among the other young guns that could win their first green jacket?
I would say the answer is yes, and that's a great thing for those guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's the idea. They all want him to play, steal the spotlight. He can certainly handle it on his broad shoulders. He's used to it, etc. Kind of like the old days, except we haven't seen it, in a while. 18 months or whatever it's been. So Scheffler, Jordan Spieth, Rory McIlroy, and a bunch of the other guys who could use some of that attention diverted to someone else, they get that this week. I would not be surprised that when when the finals, the ball drops in for the winner on Sunday, whether it's a putt, whether it's a hole out, that narrative that we're talking about this moment, I'd be surprised if that's not somehow part of the winner's storyline.
Rob Bolton with us, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Rob, I know that based on your power rankings, you're big on Brooks Koepka, as healthy as he's been in a long time. This is the one he hasn't gotten yet, does that mean something a little extra that he has not? Because he's like Tiger in that regard, in that he gets up for the majors, and this is what he cares about, and he has not put on the jacket yet.
Well, he came close. Remember, he was one of those four co-runners up in 2019. He's learned a lot from that, no doubt. They all have. But what I love about Koepka, other than him being Koepka this week at this tournament on this course, is how few of the other notables are coming in as strong as he is. No, he hasn't won. Winning's hard, but he's been playing really well. He's been playing really well at places where he likes, at places that suit him well. And he's not injured, or he's not healthy, or no one's 100%, but he hasn't complained about an injury in some time. So in a sense, because there's sort of this wide open entry to this tournament, I mean, the odds are so flat across the board that I love him in that context. He's going to pounce. That's what he does. He's the apex predator. That's what they do. And the timing just makes a lot of sense. If he doesn't, it could be something, again, like what happened in 19. You get so close, and it doesn't matter because you don't win. He's probably learned from that. Maybe he puts it to use this week.
What's happened to Dustin Johnson since he won the Masters in the fall of 2020? It seems like he really has struggled, hasn't won. I don't even think he's had runner-ups, not many top 10 finishes either.
Yeah, it's a good question. He has set the expectation. Why doesn't he win? He didn't win last year, so he didn't get to get to Kapalua, which was odd. So he was bothered a little bit by injury. I mean, everybody is, but for him, he's 37 now. I think there's maybe a little bit. He's getting closer to his past prime, but of course, his game will play at a high level for a much longer time because he's long off the tee. He's in incredible shape otherwise. I don't think anything's wrong. It's just there's that natural churn at the top. He's still part of it, and he's number 6 in my power ranking, so I still have very high faith. In fact, he's the last guy of like the top echelon of my picks to win. I would say anybody from the top 6, I would have winning this week, guys. Johnson's number 6 right now.
All right, I put 5 different pieces of paper, rolled them up, tied them up, put them in a Masters cap, by the way, and had everyone dip into the cap and pick a piece of paper for the drawing. Okay. Paul picked 1. Armstrong is 2. Craig is 3. Rob, you are 4, and then I am 5. So we just did that while we were also talking to you. And I think actually you were 1, but Paul switched it out so he could get Brooks Koepka. But are you ready to go? Four players.
Oh, we'll do that.
If any of your 4 do not make the weekend, no matter if you have 1, 2, and 3 at the end of the weekend, your team is ineligible. It's a very, very brutal, very, very tough thing to do. All right, Paul, you go ahead and go.
With the first pick, I will draft Brooks Koepka, future bro of mine.
Oh, my gosh.
Armstrong, Scotty Scheffler.
Yep, obviously.
Craig Smoak.
Koepka, Scheffler, right? Man, I have no idea. I'm not the big golf guy. Let's go Rory McIlroy. I don't know.
All right, Rory McIlroy for Craig, who had the lead and then duck hooked a drive on 10 a few years back. Rob, you are next up.
First of all, Paul's a stone cold killer doing what he's done and taking my guy. So, who I'm not rooting for. Craig, you talk a little game, but you played a hell of a game the last time we did this. I think you came out on top and dusted all of us, so I don't want to hear that out of you anymore. I got JT as my number 2 in the power rankings, but I can't get away from Jon Rahm in this format right now, so he's my pick.
I'll take Justin.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Justin Thomas. And then I'm going to take Xander Schauffele. So you're next,
okay.
Rob.
Well, then I'm not going to get away from how much I was just talking up DJ. So I'm going to follow around with DJ there in the second round.
Craig, you're next.
Let's see here. I'm trying to keep track of everybody else's. I'll go Cameron Smith.
Cam Smith with a huge win.
Dang it. Okay.
Armstrong.
I'll take Zalatoris.
Okay. Paul, you get picks back to back.
I'll take Colin Morikawa. Oh, man. Lee got me off Victor Hovland. I mean, he got me.
Yeah, he scared the hell out of me, too.
Scared the heck out of me on Victor Hovland. So I'm going to do it just to piss Armstrong off. Jordan Spieth.
All right.
Can I say something about Hovland for a moment, just briefly?
Yeah.
The follow-up, the proper follow-up to Lee talking about Hovland's short game is, but what if Hovland doesn't miss a green? It doesn't matter.
It's a great point, man. Golly, that's a great point.
That's all I'm saying. Love Lee, but come on.
Armstrong?
I'll take Hovland.
There you go. I was kind of hoping you wouldn't bring anything up, Paul, but I'm sure
I should have waited.
Yeah. All right, so Hovland to Armstrong, his third pick. Craig, you get your third pick.
DeChambeau.
Bryson DeChambeau coming off a little bit of a lull with the layout, but again, who knows? Rob.
Ooh. Okay. Okay. This so because David, you got the swing pick.
Yes, sir.
I respect the swing pick. I respect you. You know that. Love you. So this pick is with respect because I think the guy that I really should take, you're not going to. So I'm actually, I guess I'm bucking that idea. So I'm gonna take Matthew Fitzpatrick here.
Yeah,
he's next to my power rankings. I'm gonna remain true to that. We'll see.
All right, well, that was somebody that was going to be very close to what I was going to have next. I'm going to take Patrick Cantley.
See, there it is. I made a mistake.
Yeah, you did
again.
And
yeah, you still have me joining you. I don't know.
And I'm going to take. I'm going to do it. Lee did not like Hovland, but he loves Sam Burns, who has been playing pretty well. I'm going to go with a little bit of a dark horse with Sam Burns.
Yeah, first timer. He is one of the 20 in the field. He has the shortest odds of any to win to beat that grouping of 20 in a prop. So I think he's like 3.5 to 1 to win that. So that's pretty strong. He'd be the guy that you'd pick there. The number 2 odds for a first timer is actually Seamus Power, who I would not advise, despite how well he fits. There's a couple of other guys who I would pivot to first, so I'd have to look at that board again. So, all right, so there's still 7 or 6 guys remaining in my power rankings who would make sense right now, but because of the importance of making the cut, this guy has not missed a cut at Augusta National since 2009. He's a former champion 9 years ago. I'm going off my power rankings board into one of my draws, Adam Scott.
Always a 2-time champion at Augusta National. You're right. All right, Craig, back to you for your final pick.
Matsuyama.
Oh.
Hideki, defending champion, has been able to get through the week so far. Couple of injury notes, of course, DeChambeau and what he's been through, and, of course, now Matsuyama and Tiger trying to come back from 17 months off. Back to you, Armstrong.
Yeah. Before Armstrong picks, if Craig wins this week, please do not call me again ever, because that team, I want to put a red cross next to it. All the best, Craig. I think it's a 4-owner race, though, at this point.
All right, Armstrong.
I'm going to go with Gary Woodland.
Gary Woodland.
Okay.
And Paul, to wrap it up.
All right. I'm going to go I'm going back and forth, but I'm going to go with Mark Leishman.
Okay. All right, Rob, we are done.
Yeah, Leishman's a great pick to end it there, Paul. I hate to tell you that, man, because the wind's going to blow next couple of days, and he may just prove why why we know he's Mark Leishman in the wind. Yeah, I think what's most entertaining about this is how, David, how like the absence of your confidence in these drafts, yet you're always there at the end. So that's the best thing about what we do with this, because we go in and we hope for our best, but we really kind of expect the worst. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be the opposite, but it should be a nice ride. I always enjoy this with you guys.
We appreciate it. Again, we'll let everyone know. We'll take it day by day, and I know you'll put it up on Twitter. We appreciate all the things you do, Rob, and all the information and insight. Enjoy the weekend. What a week in sports with the NCAA championship, the first week of the baseball season, and, of course, Augusta National as well. Thanks for your time.
You got it, guys.
Rob Bolton, again, PGA Tour analyst. He's great. He's got the sense of humor, does not mind throwing a couple of haymakers our way as well. I'll put up the teams. I'll take care of them. I'll bring it out, and we'll look at who we are as at this time tomorrow, at least with some of the first round out of the way. Excuse me. When we come back, Grant Teaff, Hall of Fame coach from Baylor. There's about to be an honor, and he's going to be honored at McMurray University, where he played football and coached. Plaza, Grant Teaff Plaza, and it's going to be April 22nd of this month. His thoughts about that, his thoughts about Dave Aranda, Mack Rhodes' extension, and being a part of this show. Next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace, where you can have a full-fledged bakery and also butcher shop. The butcher shop with beef, pork, poultry, and also seafood, and the bakery, of course, with fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, plus all sorts of the goodies and sweets and treats that you want as well. It's a hometown grocery store feeling. When you walk in the door, there's like 2 aisles that are filled with all sorts of things, from anything as simple as Rotel tomatoes a can, or even hamburger helper, pasta, or all sorts of seasonings and spices as well. And then they also have fresh vegetables, whether it's carrots or what you need when it comes to russet, or just nice good old potatoes right out of the ground as well. It's also a place where you can find your cold beer and wine. Waco Custom Marketplace, I always recommend the butcher shop for what they can do with bone-in ribeyes. They are fantastic. Waco Custom Marketplace, a legacy sponsor of our show since the first day. It's Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Now he'll run it with a block. Splits. Ahead in. Touchdown, Baylor.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing his time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Hall of Fame football coach, the legend Grant Taft, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. I want to start with the event, the Texas High School Coaches Association event that Baylor hosted. Coach Aranda reached out to you to be a part of that. How much do you love continuing to be a part of events like that?
Well, I like being a part of anything associated with my city, with my university, and with coaches. And so anytime I can be of help to anybody or be a part of anything, I'm always happy to do so.
You have seen a lot of coaches come through there since the last time when you coached, but have you had anyone that reminds you, or is Coach Aranda as unique as any of them, or more?
Oh, by far. I just am so impressed with him, both as a technical coach and as an emotional leader for his team. He does a great job with the coaches that work with him and for him, and they just have a terrific staff. And the nice thing that they're always going to be competitive. They're always going to be in the game, and they're going to win more than they lose. I can assure you of that.
So tell me, if you don't mind, about you being contacted by McMurray about the Grant Taft Plaza, the statue, and what all that means. And that's where students who come to visit that campus, what they see first on the tour. When you got that call, what did that mean to you?
Well, you know, it was a little bit of a surprise, but I was highly honored because McMurray has meant so much to me through the years. You know, I was in junior college and had opportunities out of junior college to go to Texas A&M, to Texas Tech, and I had a close friend that could only get a scholarship to McMurray. So I liked McMurray. I liked the coach there, and I decided to go there. It's only 80 miles from my hometown. And so it was a tremendous experience. We had amazing professors and coaches that were impactful upon my life. And so I have always remained very close to McMurray. I have supported them. They've been very gracious to me. They gave me a doctorate. I have an earned master's from there as well. And so I've just remained close. We love to do what we can to support that university.
Well, not only were you there as a student, but you played there, you coached there, and that was your first college job after you were at Lubbock High School. And it's April 22nd. They're going to unveil the plaza, and you're going to be there, bright and shiny and ready to go, huh?
Yes, sir. We will certainly be there, and we look forward to it. And hopefully, a lot of our players from those years, we experienced a unique situation with a plane crash.
Yes, sir.
That team in '63 did, and so it'll be wonderful to see many of them return and to get to be back on the campus.
You have a saying, don't you have a saying about what's one of your favorite verses about McMurray and about God?
Oh, yes, sir. It was something that really was impressed upon me after the plane crash. So I had some cards made up and with the Bible verse on it, and so that we could all have a commemorative time together, the coaches and the players. And we were the McMurray Indians at that time, and so I just called it the Brotherhood of the Indian Belly Landing Experts. and but what was really interesting, the little printer over there across the street from McMurray called me, and he said, "Coach," said, "that's really kind of long to put on here. Can I just abbreviate it?" And I said, "Well, sure." And so that came back. And when we passed the cards out, I had created the Bible Club, BIBLE, Brotherhood of the Indian Belly Landing Experts.
I love it.
So we've been a pretty unique association or group since that time, and we get back together every few years, and I know many of them will return for the dedication of the statue.
I mentioned Dave Aranda. He and his contract and a lot of his staff were taken care of, as they should have been. But then, of course, the news this week that Mack Rhoades signed an extension to remain the AD, and he didn't, I don't think, plan on leaving. He told us yesterday he had some other goals. He thought at some point maybe would be interested in being a conference commissioner. Of course, Bob Bowlsby's job is now going to be open at some point, but he signed an extension. He's not going anywhere. How critical is that? You've been the AD at Baylor. How critical is that for them to seal him up?
Well, I think it was an extremely smart thing to do. He is a terrific coach, and I think he's one of the best in the business today. I don't know of anybody across the country that's any better than he is. And I also feel like with the combination of Mack and Coach Aranda, we've got a tremendous winning combination for our football program and for our athletic program.
Last thing, Coach, and we always are honored to have you on the show. It was 2 years ago today we launched this radio show. You were on the first show, and you helped kind of kickstart what has been an amazing journey. You've been a part of rebuilds. This wasn't a rebuild. This was actually constructing something from the ground up, but you've kind of done that yourself. So we always appreciate your time, and it's hard to imagine it's been 2 years.
Well, it has, but what a wonderful 2 years, and what you and this program have meant to this, not only our community, but this entire region. And we're so grateful for the effort of the station and the folks there that plan these things, and for your amazing ability to bring out in individuals you interview the things that folks love to hear. So keep up the good work, Smoak.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you so much. We are honored.
Bye-bye now.
Grant Taft, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Sure do appreciate Coach Taft for being a part of this show today. Coming up, we'll discuss the Cowboys. They had some list now of those who they will bring in, some elite names in the NFL draft. John Machota will join us, theathletic.com, with that. as we continue with this second anniversary show, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, lowt.com, one of our legacy sponsors from day one, and really well before that as well, where we were before. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be and need to be and possibly used to be. What happens as you get older? 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. It happens. Father Time wins in the end on everything. But sometimes it could also, as you get older, your testosterone levels start to drop. And sometimes it has nothing to do with anything you've done, whether you're in shape, whatever you have with diet. It's just a part of your life. Dr. Kent Petty can help you increase your testosterone levels. Here's what you do. Go online, pettyclinic.lowt.com. Email and phone number, top left-hand corner. Tell him I sent you. He'll set you up to get your blood work. He'll look at the lab results. And if your testosterone level is too low, he can put you in a program to increase that testosterone level so you can become the high-performance man again that you want and need to be. Could be sleep habits, sex drive, or also energy. Could be all three. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone, and maybe you're one of them. It's pettyclinic.lowt.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Jeep Celebration is going on now at Allen Samuels. Come see the newest Grand Cherokee, the new 2022 available in a 2-row or a family favorite, the 3-row Model L. Jeep re-engineered for the future. The Grand Cherokee is ready for the next great adventure. Are you? Find legendary power and confidence, along with head-turning style, is what Grand Cherokee is. First responders get a $500 discount. Shop Allen Samuels, DCJ.com, or come in and see our huge selection of brand new cars and trucks.
Come by. Let's be friends.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John Machota of The Athletic. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus. And best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects. With 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
We will hear from John Machota here momentarily. TheAthletic.com covers the Cowboys. Now, in fact, joins us, Sikkim 365 Radio. John, thanks for your time. I saw this yesterday evening on the pre-draft visitors, and it seems to be, of course, some huge names, as you expect. Does every team bring in who they actually believe they might draft, or do they sometimes play mind games who they don't bring in?
I'm sure some teams do that. I never gotten that sense out of, the Cowboys, particularly in the last, 5-6 years. I've never felt that way. There might be out of those. I think they got 28 guys that they're bringing in up to this point. They always leave a couple spots open in case, there's some other guys they want to bring in last minute. But I've always gotten the sense that, are they interested big time in every one of them? No, but there's always a few in there where they're like, they want to just do a little extra work because maybe, they've heard certain things about this guy and they're like, yeah, we probably won't draft him, but let's just go ahead and do our due diligence, because what if this guy does fall to us? Let's make sure we know as much as we can about him, even though he's not maybe somebody that fits exactly what we're looking for, but he's a talented player. Let's do some background work here, and why not use one of the visits on this person? But I've gotten the sense the majority of these guys are ones that they bring them in because the majority of them are the ones that they think will be available in the earlier rounds. But they bring in guys that, you look at that list of the 28 so far. I mean, there's some guys on that list that, might not even get drafted. That not every one of those guys is going to be a first-round pick. Some of those guys might not even be a 6th or 7th round pick, and it might be a priority free agent. But they're on all different levels to kind of fill needs. And that's the biggest thing I've always taken away from it, is like, it shows you kind of where they're looking at, where they think that some of these guys will be available at. And they're trying to bring these guys in because they're trying to fill positions of need.
So earlier this week, it was reported the Cowboys had some interest in Devontae Parker. John, I just can't bring myself to believe that they would trade a draft pick for Devontae Parker, even though they did pick up some for Amari Cooper, although that's the kind of guy. Do you think that means that wide receiver is maybe even higher on their priority list than people may have thought in the beginning?
When I first started covering the Cowboys, I read into that stuff a lot more. I feel like the longer I've covered them, I lean a little bit more to the side of it makes sense for anybody, whether you're an agent or another team, to get the Cowboys involved by even mentioning their name, because it seems to always drive up the price. Whether you're talking about Stephon Diggs and him getting that new contract, you're always going to see stuff online where, Stephon Diggs would love to play with Trayvon, and all of a sudden just like, the Cowboys, they're not making a move for Stephon Diggs, but it's like, and then all of a sudden he gets a new deal done and things like that. I think a lot of agents, teams throw the Cowboys in the mix because they're like, oh, the Cowboys are interested too. So, I mean, there's other teams, you want leverage, and they are one of the teams. I mean, you just look at the landscape of the entire NFL, and you put together a list. I don't know if you get past the top 2 or 3 where you wouldn't be like, oh, well, the Cowboys would present some leverage because, they're big names and things like that. But yeah, I don't see them giving up any type of premium pick for Devontae Parker. You would just keep Amari Cooper if you were going to do that. But with that all aside, I've always thought wide receiver was going to be a major need for them as soon as they parted ways with Amari Cooper, because it's not like they look at it as, we had too much wide receiver talent last year, we need to kind of dial that back. No, they need for their offense to be where they want it to be, whether it's Kellen Moore or Mike McCarthy. They need multiple playmaking wide receivers. Mike McCarthy talks about it all the time. When you're trying to win, not just these NFC East games that, they are going to be favored in most of them, but when you want to win in the playoffs, you want to beat the San Franciscos, your number 3 and number 4 wide receiver have to be very good, because teams are going to take away your top 2 options. You're going to need production from your 3 and 4 guys. And heck, just take it back to that 49ers game. Cedric Wilson was playing a major role in that game. And I don't think most people go into the season like, Cedric Wilson, what is that? Whatever. Well, after Gallup goes down, like, you need that 3-4 receiver, not CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. You need other guys producing like that. And the Cowboys need at least one more playmaker in that situation. And that's why wide receiver could be the pick as early as 24. And that's why 3 of those guys that are on that pre-draft 30 visits are wide receivers that will not be there in the second round. They're bringing those guys in because those are first-round possibilities.
John, saw where Keanu Neal signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is just, I guess, a matter of finding his more natural position again, based on what he did in Dallas versus what he'll be doing playing safety once again with Tampa Bay. And does Jabril Cox just, is that the automatic response to, okay, what do they do about losing Keanu Neal?
Yeah, and it sounded like going into free agency, Keanu Neal wanted to go back to playing as a safety, and I don't think the Cowboys had very much interest in him being a safety in the way that they run their defense. And their number one priority at safety was to bring back J-Ron Kurtz. Their number two priority was to re-sign, either a DeMonte Casey or Malik Hooker. And obviously they brought back Hooker and J-Ron Kurtz. And so they weren't going to bring him back as a safety. And at linebacker, you mentioned Jabril Cox. That's been the thing for them. I know he's coming off of the knee injury, but the times that Jabril Cox did play last year as a rookie, he showed signs of, this is what the linebackers nowadays play like. He's a long guy, good in pass coverage, fast, can cover a lot of ground. So when they said, because I think Steven even said at the owners' meetings, Stephen Jones, that he looks at Jabril Cox being a guy that can fill that role. Kind of like the wide receiver thing, they want several linebackers there so that they can keep guys fresh, because you're not really playing the three linebackers you used to in the NFL. You're playing like two guys, and so I think they want it to be similar to what it was last year, where it was Micah Parsons is on the field at all times, and that other linebacker spot is a little bit of a split between Leighton Vander Esch and Keanu Neal. Well, now with Neal gone, that other linebacker spot, you're looking at Vander Esch filling in there, and then Jabril Cox, and whoever plays the best out of the two of them gets more snaps.
We're talking to John Machota, theathletic.com, Sikkim 365 Radio.
John, do you think any of the trades that have happened in the first round, for example, that Eagles and Saints trade, shakes up things to where the Cowboys may have to worry about one of their guys? Obviously they're at 24, but maybe more than the others, that they worry about, this is going to change what we have to do or react to anymore?
Not necessarily. That one was interesting. There's a lot of picks obviously involved. I guess my biggest takeaway when I saw that was it made me think that I don't see the Cowboys doing anything to move back out of 24. I think if the Cowboys are involved in a trade, it'll be moving up. And another reason why I say that is because you just listen to how Jerry Jones talked a week ago at those owners' meetings, and how he talked about how, our roster right now isn't as good as it was at the end of the season, but I like where our roster is compared to what it was last year at this time. And he's like, and the reason why I'm saying that is because we didn't have Micah Parsons last year at this time. And he kind of referred to that multiple times in his 40 minutes sitting down with reporters. And so it made me just think about how, you're not going to be getting CeeDee Lambs and Micah Parsons by moving back. And this pick is so important to them because they aren't making big splashes in free agency. I just don't see the Cowboys being a team that's going to go, we can get future picks if we trade back from 24. No, they need a big time impact player out of this first round pick they have. So if there's any trades involved with the Dallas Cowboys, I believe it'll involve them moving up from 24 if a player they really like starts falling. I don't believe that means they'll move from 24 to 12, but I could see them potentially, if there's a guy slipping a little bit, maybe moving from 24 to maybe 18. Maybe they move up to one of those spots up there where, one of those Saints or Eagles picks that you just mentioned are at. So that's one thing trade-wise that's kind of been on my mind.
Yeah, John, we mentioned this to Hellman the other day. I think that fans know the Cowboys have a plan. It's hard to understand what it is right now, which I think is what they don't. It's like nobody can see what the plan is. Are you trying to get better? Well, you don't trade Amari Cooper. You don't get in the weeds on a contract with Randy Gregory, which has never really happened before. So you can maybe throw that as a one-off, but. That would stand to reason, though, that they might be ready to be aggressive in the draft, because nothing has been aggressive or even makes sense when they talk about, like Bobby Wagner, $6.5 million a year. That's not too terrible to live with, but they don't even kick the tire. So maybe this is what they're all been planning for.
It's this, and then also the possibility of trades. Obviously there's moves that can happen as the season gets closer. The Von Miller deal with the Rams, Odell Beckham move with the Rams. There's stuff that teams will do when they're really all in and they're trying to make a push. That can happen. They don't have to happen right now or in free agency or even, during the draft. They can happen after that. They can happen, before the season even starts. They can happen during the season. I'm just saying that from where the Cowboys are and how much I believe this NFC East and the NFC in general are there for the taking, that you better see that type of, commitment to improving this roster. And everything doesn't have to be built and improved by just this free agency window and draft. And there's other times to acquire players. If I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm hoping that you're going to see this aggressiveness as the season goes on, and certainly in the draft. I mean, and that's, for all the criticism that Mike McCarthy takes, because, ultimately they haven't reached where the expectations were or have been since he's become the head coach. The one thing that has been the positive is the way they've drafted, particularly early, and they have gotten some nice picks that have come in and been able to help pretty quickly. And so you do have kind of a feeling that, I think that they'll be able to get some pieces in the draft, but I think they're going to need more than that. And I just think adding a couple guys in the draft isn't going to be enough. If you really are trying to win a Super Bowl, I would expect to see some more moves being made, whether it's via trade or something else between now and once the season starts.
John, thank you as always. Appreciate your time. We are now, 3 weeks away from the NFL draft, and John Machota all over it, all the information. And you can follow him on Twitter as well. John Machota with us, Sikkim 365 Radio, every Wednesday, most every Wednesday in the 5 o'clock hour. Couple of different notes. Armstrong, I don't know, and I'm not sure where the baseball highlight that I sent to you on through email last night about Landon Dieterich, young man locally. I'm not sure if you have that, if you want to. Paul, you sent this over to Craig, and both Craig and I. Kendry Miller, the running back, who really got a lot of time last year, hell of a player from a small little school, Mount Enterprise. A quote about the TCU practices under Sonny Dykes. Practice is completely different from what it used to be. Everybody was just kind of sluggish, like getting through, but now everybody is competing every day and ready to go to work.
Yeah, and the reason I sent this to you is this is why you fire the guy with the statue. If the things are sluggish and his message was getting stale, which was very clear was happening. Look, he can game plan with the best of them, but it's not just about that. It was the other stuff that was getting Gary Patterson in the weeds. That's why you make a change, and that's why his new role is probably better for him at his current point in this life, because he's kind of in the weeds when it comes to being the overall head coach and needs to just focus on game planning and consulting and doing that stuff. But it wasn't surprising to me to hear this, and that's why you make changes as a coach.
But isn't that also what you might hear anytime there's a change?
I was going to say, every time there's a change, like these coaches are the best. This strength coach is, working us hard, and maybe I would have fallen privy to things like that prior to this job, but now having seen 3 head coaching searches and a scandal and, multiple other coaching changes in other sports, that's just kind of what guys are going to say. Like, the big news would be if Kendry Miller said, man, those practices under Patterson were really intense, and now we're just kind of, that would have been alarming. But I think that's probably just some of the newness, quite frankly. But I also do think that playing into that newness, I do think that Gary Patterson had worn out his welcome. I think that program was flatlining, and unless you were playing Baylor, there wasn't really a whole lot of impact. I feel. I mean, they could beat Texas on a regular basis. They'd get up for that game, and they, regularly got to bowl games and whatnot. But really, after Browse got fired, that program just kind of went down a level, and it never really rose back to the level that it was prior. And I'm not sure why, because I know why Baylor went back down, because, they lost their head coach and basically had to blow up the whole building. TCU, nothing happened. Really, nothing happened. So I don't know why they went from contender to just basically being a team that could win a few games and give you some trouble and would get to a bowl and do all that. But maybe that's because the message had kind of worn thin, and it wasn't, wasn't the way that it was supposed to be. And I definitely picked up on that, I think, the last couple of years. I'm just kind of wondering, man, this whole Patterson TCU thing just kind of feels like it's running out of time.
And I think that part of it is that Gary Patterson is a coach from a bygone era, a little bit of head coach in that you can say anything you want. And I think Urban Meyer's now a coach from a bygone era.
What about Nick Saban?
Nick Saban is adapts. He adapts.
Yeah. There you go.
He adapts. That's the thing. It's there were times when I thought Nick Saban was about to fall into that when he's complaining about the spread offense. But Nick Saban was so brilliant. All he was telling you was that, look, you can make a rule about this, or I'm going to do it with my guys.
Kind of like NIL.
You're good. That's what he does. But Gary Patterson and Urban Meyer weren't adaptable because they got used to being able to be, this is what I say. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Well, I'm the head coach. It doesn't have to make sense.
Yeah, I agree. Armstrong, I sent you that video. Go ahead, Craig.
I'm very curious to see how they do, though. I mean, Sonny Dykes is a good coach, and it's going to be wildly different watching his version of TCU football versus the version. Because even when Patterson wasn't coaching last year, he was still coaching. Like, we know for sure the Baylor game, he was, like, game planning and doing that kind of stuff. So he wasn't all the way out like he is now. So I do think it'll look wildly different. It'll probably, have some new energy to it. But as far as, like, turning it into results, I don't know. I don't know what to expect just yet from TCU. Certainly don't expect them to have – the defense that's going to lock you down game in and game out like they did. I mean, they could still have a good defense, but I just don't expect it to remain on the level of when Gary Patterson was running it, right? But I think offensively they'll take a step up. Clearly with Sonny Dykes going to be a bit more up-tempo, and you're going to see a lot of probably gaudy stats. But then again, in the Big 12, with the defenses they have, I mean, that's like with Aranda talking about the influx of all the spread stuff. It's going to be a really different type of a year, I think, in terms of the changes and what that's created and kind of just the style of the league. So I'm fascinated to see it.
And I think, look, that 3-3-5 defense that people are running, or what Baylor runs, what West Virginia runs, is the one that counters the spread. So it's not the same. Iowa State, that's what they run. It runs to counter the spread, and they came up with that because everybody's running the spread and still running the same old defenses. So they had to adjust, and I think so you'll still see some gaudy offensive numbers in certain places, but I don't think that it's going to be the same as it was 10 years ago.
No, I'm saying that you are going to see, like that's what I'm saying is I think you're going to see an uptick in gaudy numbers. I mean, Zach Kittle at Texas Tech, if you watched Western Kentucky and Bailey Zappi and Jarrett Stearns and all those guys last year, I mean, that's going to be a lot of passing and a lot of receiving touchdowns and things like that. Obviously, Sonny Dykes and what he did at SMU, they're going to be up-tempo. They're going to be fast and big stats and things like that. Jeff Lebby, same thing. I mean, it's going to be big stats, big athletic, receive. I mean, go down the line of all the changes. Sarkisian at Texas, now that he's got Ewers at quarterback and Bijan back and Worthy back. I don't think it's going to be the no defense league like it was maybe 10 years ago. I think it's going to be a great mixture of really high tempo offenses and then really stingy defenses, and where they fall in the middle and how that plays out. That's what I think is going to be really interesting to watch.
I just said, as Craig, you were and Paul talking, that Notre Dame has scheduled their first game ever against an HBCU opponent against Tennessee State, Eddie George, in September of 2023.
It's their first FCS opponent, I believe, as well.
Possibly as well.
There's only one. UCLA has two scheduled, both against HBCUs. Mm-hmm. The only school as of 2023 that will have never played one and has no plans to currently is USC.
Yep.
An FCS
only
opponent.
one. Yep. Now that Notre Dame's done that, so Notre Dame kind of knocked out two birds with one stone there. So that'll be cool.
I think this was Marcus Freeman really pushing this.
Could be.
I do. I think it was. Good. I think it was a big thing to him.
Armstrong, what did you give me the thumbs up for? You have that video? All right, now this is a local note for a lot of you around the country, but there's a city just east of Waco called Riesel, and this is a video of fourth grade students watching a hometown former high school star in Landon Dieterich, who's playing, I think, for the Mets. I think it's for the Mets or the Nationals. But this is a Ags win. Ags_win sent me this. Anticom is on Twitter, just because this is a young group of kids watching someone they know who's trying to save his job in Major League Baseball. All right. That's Landon Dieterich, and there's a coach who has been at Riesel, Mart, a few other places as well. He went to Mary Hardin-Baylor, which is just down south in Belton. He won national titles, of course, in football. But Landon Kyle Dieterich is trying to stick in Major League or in the league, in the pros, with a shot off the wall. And I just thought the kids, that innocence of those kids chanting was really, really cool. Thanks for sending that our way.
I wish I had that teacher watching baseball.
How about that? Yeah.
I mean, that brought up some memories, though, of seeing the old TV rolled out. That was always the best day ever in school.
I didn't care what it was.
No, it didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
Could be a never-ending story or a documentary. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
No.
By the way, the South Dakota women's basketball coach who knocked Baylor out in the second second round of the playoff of the tournament has been hired by West Virginia. as their newest women's basketball coach, and there's no question her success in wins against Ole Miss and Baylor had a lot to do with that. Stephon Diggs had a big contract signed today as well.
Yeah, $100+ million extension, 4 years as well, and the Bills are all in. I mean, the Bills are all in with him, and they're all in with him and Josh Allen, and all in on getting back to where they got to last year. And it was sight for sore eyes to see that franchise in a position like they were last year, but it felt kind of right at the same time because I think it has been so long since we've seen them seemingly in that position.
It's nice to see a team really being aggressive and doing things that make sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, but Diggs, that makes sense for them, and he and Josh Allen make a great pair, so that'll be good, and makes a lot of sense. Ty Washington just saw on the scroll as well. Kentucky entering the NBA draft, so a lot going on.
No shock.
Definitely, and I know Cowboys fans. I mean, look, at least Cowboys fans care. My team, they're just, is the owner going to be the owner in 2 months? Or are we going to find out he's been jipping the NFL on ticket sales and doing whatever else he's been doing? I mean, I just don't know how a guy has as many different types of accusations as Daniel Snyder seems to have, but he's innocent. It's just hard for me to believe, innocent until proven guilty. But, man, the allegations, just a variety of them, whether it's the cheerleader stuff or whether it's, bilking the NFL out of money. I don't know why that guy is as bulletproof as he is. I really do not understand it, except for it's just, America and the rich and powerful remain.
Look at the city he's in.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. That you know what? Now it all makes all sense in the world. Makes all the sense in the world. He's fitting right in. What am I talking about? I'm the square that's not hip with everything, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, when we come back on this second anniversary of this show launching 2 years ago today, Paul Catalina wraps it up with Top 5, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. So Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. Another month has started. And, of course, they have all sorts of dealer discounts and incentives for you as well. And there's this Wagoneer that I was able to drive. Ted Teague called me, said, hey, come on over. We want you to drive this Wagoneer. And it was just for a couple of days. And I mean, it was fantastic. Big, spacious SUV. It's beautiful. But also on top of that, there are incentives for not only the Wagoneer 2, but Wagoneer 3. And the Wagoneer 3 is, oh my Lord, if the 2's pretty good, the Wagoneer 3 is even better than pretty good. Both of them are special, new designs. And then, of course, what they have with Ram trucks, the Ram quad cab and a crew cab and all what you need when it comes to Ram trucks, back to back Motor Trend Truck of the Year, and also honored by J.D. Power. Everything you look at on that lot has something when it comes to either incentives or discounts. If you ask the dealership, they will help you out with that. And first responders on some of the vehicles, you can get an extra $500 in cash. But cash, discounts, great APR financing, sometimes 0% to 2.9%. Ask for details. Ted Teague, the general manager, and a critical part of this show, along with what he's done since day one with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links, and you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs, Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show, whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Champion Salon and Barber, a later edition, but certainly appreciate everything that Kevin and Lorraine and everybody over there do. And Armstrong, Jack, and I all call clients now. I mean, I've been for a long time, but Armstrong looks really good. Doesn't he?
Yeah, he really does. It's about time. I mean, it was getting to the point where we did not want to put him on camera.
I'm thinking a couple weeks he's probably going to go back and get a touch up because he's got to go see his lady love in Spain and wants to look good for.
When is that, by the way? Is that May?
Yeah.
God, he's gone again.
That's next week.
Yeah, there we go. So
I want his agent.
All right, top 5 events that we've covered in the 2 years. This was suggested by Jack McKenzie, who's now on Twitter.
Yeah,
Jack Mac 98 on Twitter.
MACK 1988.
Yeah. All right. So suggested by Jack. So number 5, Kim Mulkey's exit to LSU. This is a big one, obviously, for us. Smokey and I, in particular, have covered her, and the lion's share of her time at Baylor, and this was as much as she wants to put it cut and dry exit of just a different thing, was not. So one of those things that I'll always think about that happened, especially in our first year or so here, was this circus that she created.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't know that we really know what all exactly happened, at least publicly available. That was pretty shocking. And then again, if you were kind of reading the tea leaves, not totally surprising when there was an issue that arose. And, that whole radio interview she did that kind of sparked the whole thing. I mean, that was on her end, and that's what opened the gates up. I have nothing but respect for Kim Mulkey. I think she's a fantastic coach. I think she's a great basketball mind, and I didn't have many, brushes with her, but what I did, she was, mutually respectful, and I appreciate her. Y'all dealt with her a lot more than I ever did. I got nothing really bad to say at all. My only thing on this, and maybe it came across like I don't like her or something, but it was never that, is I just wasn't going to sit and wallow and be depressed about it and act like nobody can come in and coach basketball because one person left. I already did that with the Art Briles thing and people crying about that and saying, oh, the program's dead and all this. And now 2 coaches have come in and played for Big 12 titles and one of them just won it. So, anybody can be replaced. But that was where I was coming from with the whole thing was I'm just not going to sit and just cry about it. Like she left, she decided to leave and she moved on and so be it. So good for her. And she's coach of the year at LSU and they've got great things going on.
The only part that bothered me was the fact that because I had the conversation was what became the narrative of what was told to me that same week, which was a completely different situation. But it's her career. Baylor's moved on. Nikki Cowan had a hell of a run, and so did Kim at LSU. Not a surprise.
Yeah. Number 4, the sports world during lockdown. I mean, that was our first few months there. And, Jack, we chose Rudy Gobert for the logo here because that was the thing that kind of kicked it all off. And, the first... let's see. We were in, late June, early July before we were actually watching actual sports on television up in my...
We launched this show 2 years ago today, and COVID had taken over a grip of everything.
Yeah, and so we
launched it in the darkness of night.
Here's my timeline. Was in Kansas City for the Big 12 tournament the night that Rudy Gobert touched all those microphones and joked about having COVID only to test positive and basically started the entire crisis of COVID in America. I mean, really, that was like the first, big whoa, it's here now. And then, 2 days later got fired because there was a pandemic, which had just started 2 days earlier, which is weird how quickly it had an effect on business. It's amazing. But in all seriousness, that was BS. And what to follow was not BS. I mean, just the whole lockdown and everything that we had to go through and still to some extent are going through and all of that. But yeah, it's changed the entire world, and it certainly changed sports there for a while. And I'm glad we're back to some sense of normalcy.
Yeah, the first couple months though, trying to do, and people would ask me what are you guys going to talk about? I said, we'll figure something out, and we got a lot of guests.
The goal was, and I did this back in 1990 when starting the show in Tyler, is that you may not have anybody watching or listening to you, and You get word spread about what you're doing by having great guests, including the ones we've had today. We had over and over and over again different names. And I remember I had that blackboard, with all and then next thing you know, everything started coming back. And the reason why you have your top 5 that allowed us to gain viewers and also listeners along the way.
Yeah, I want to make it very clear. I'm not there the other day. You're trying to see if I wanted to add on to talking about where we were, and I'm moved so past that. But I'm never going to accept that we were fired I was fired. It's COVID cuts 2 days after COVID became a thing. It's really 2 days after, and all of a sudden the bills can't be paid, and you have to spare me, dude. So BS. But anyways,
yeah. No, we were fired for health reasons. He was sick of us.
Yeah, exactly.
Spike, that's I told us to live on Spike.
And it was mutual too.
We were sick of each other. Number 3, the Baylor's Big 12 and Sugar Bowl wins just this last December and January. Really, I mean, something that look, when we started the show April 6th of 2020, we were not talking about Baylor winning the Big 12 title. We didn't know what was going to happen because of Dave Aranda and COVID and how everything was going to happen. And then, if you had done this, our last year 1 anniversary show, I wouldn't say we were sitting here talking about a conference title after that season. We were talking about, hey, well, this is probably a bowl team now that everything's normal, not a big time, New Year's 6 bowl win and a conference champion.
Well, it needed to be a bowl team after 2-7. If it would have been anything, they didn't have to go win the Big 12 and Sugar Bowl. I mean, that was just extra frosting. But I mean, they definitely needed to have a turnaround. And yeah, I mean, the turnaround was incredible. We talked it to death, and we'll continue to, because those were 2 big wins in that program's history, 2 of the biggest ever, and one of the biggest years. It has to be the best year ever, right?
It's the best single season Baylor football's ever had.
Best season they've ever had. Yep. So yeah, I mean, to think of how do they fix this, and is Dave Aranda the guy, and is his personality going to work, and all that to where they are now? It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Number 2, Baylor men's basketball's 2021 national title. I mean, you would think this would be number 1, but there's a different number 1. But this, I mean, look, our company's made a documentary about it. It's huge.
We were there.
We were there. I mean, it was just so much
unbelievable.
That goes into this with Scott Drew and where he built the program from, and the way that not only that the whole national conversation about Scott Drew, which should have changed about 10 years ago, it's like everybody else caught up and go, oh, crap, this guy, this guy knows basketball.
It really has changed, and it carried over, and there was none of this going back to the previous narrative. It has changed in the way he's looked at now and forever.
Yeah.
Because of what happened in 21.
Yeah. And number one.
Oh, yeah.
The Big 12 shakeup. I mean, this is why there's 17,000 of you nearly subscribed to our channel, and that we're talking to people from Mexico and West Virginia and Orlando and Washington and Oregon and California, Oklahoma, all that, Virginia, all those places we got to meet people and talk to them on the show was because of the Big 12 shakeup. Obviously the biggest thing, and may not be done shaking up, but this is the thing that kind of is maybe now our signature moment as a show.
I can't argue with any of the five. The order, of course, can always be what, but as far as this show and the growth of this show, that one there is the one that took our YouTube channel to a level that it's at now, and it continues to grow. That was... because that could have been devastating, and instead it turned out to be freaking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to make some new friends from 4 different schools now as a result, or have in some cases. And yeah, that was easily the biggest. Will stick with me for a long time, just the feeling of seeing that news break, especially after we had just been at Big 12 Media Days, and everybody was just like, that's where I would never be successful at this high-end level of businesses, because I can't hide much, so I just don't know how Chris Del Conte and Joe Castiglione were just walking around for 2 days, the whole time knowing what they were about to pull in the next few days, and then Brent Zwerneman beat him to it. But, that's why they're in those positions. You have to be able to keep secrets and do things behind the scenes, and they put their programs in good positions and left the Big 12 in a lurch. But to Bob Bowlsby's credit, and to the remaining schools, they were able to dig themselves out of that as much as they could, and they're going to have to keep climbing. I mean, there's no doubt. They're not like in safe zone territory and just going to be fine for forever. As if this conference shows you anything, in 5 years we're going to be doing this again, if not sooner. So easily the biggest story we talked about.
Gregory Krug, before you mentioned that, and I said, I got a feeling I know which one it is, and I said, Greg, you were right. He goes, I'm going to tell my wife that I was right at something.
There you go.
And I said, take this message here and copy it and send it to her or show it to her. All right, Paul, good stuff. I can't argue with any of those without any question whatsoever. Levi Caraway and Jack McKenzie, Emery Winter, Armstrong Sims, all of them behind the scenes doing their magic. We appreciate all of them. Also, a guest lineup today that we hope you understood was just kind of reflective of our first 2 years of this show. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Thanks to Ashley, Colt, and Brian for their dream and their vision to allow us to be a part of it, and all of the sponsors.
Thanks to Shorty's for the pizza today.
Shorty's Pizza, American Cookie Company for a great cookie as well. We appreciate it all. Thank you. Have a great night. Back at it tomorrow. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and